2015 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Mr. Delaney?
Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which has been published in the Suburban Trends newspaper, posted here in the municipal building, posted on the township website, and notice provided to all those requesting notice and making payment in accordance with township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Phelan.
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff.
Here.
Mayor Winterfield.
Here. Tonight we have 2 presentations, but we actually have 3, ones that are on here. The council would just like to recognize Jay Delaney and all his hard work that he's done for us. And we have a little token from the council for you.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
it's your official last meeting,
It is.
and you just really raised the bar for Carol and Paul, and especially for Melissa, Rich, and I. I mean, you really took us on when we were brand new council people, and you really taught us a lot with a lot of patience and a lot of grace. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now to the real presentations. That was a very important one.
You're always welcome to stop in.
I do know that. This is a friendly.
This is a friendly
Yes, go ahead, Jay, you have
It
the
is a
floor.
very friendly place, and certainly I appreciate the thoughtfulness of this council. At this time, I would also be remiss if I didn't recognize those that preceded you. I've served here for just about 5 years, and I have to tell you that in both capacities, as a full-time township clerk as well as for the last few years on a part-time basis, it's been both a pleasure to be associated with the Pequannock Township. It's certainly been a pleasure to work with the outstanding staff that's been assembled, certainly starting with Dave Holberg and the rest of the employees here. I also want to thank the members of the council that preceded you that were actually part of my hiring. And again, my thanks. I want to wish best of luck to Carol. I know I'm leaving here in good hands, and I look forward to coming back and visiting.
Oh, yes, please. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, presentation number 1. I think we're going to do the walkables community first. Are we going to switch that around? Or you know? Or do you-
County's not here, correct?
No,
Not yet.
no.
No, you're up.
You're up.
Don't get comfortable.
Yeah, I'll need a second to set up.
Need a hand? I'll take care of this.
I can use the computer chair.
Microphone.
Where's the you were here? Might be down here. Oh, okay, now I can see it. All right, okay. We'll present that as visually challenged people. You can't see the letters. Oh, yeah. They're so funny like this. Rich, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see
Can
it.
you see the flag?
It says Pequannock Township on it.
You guessed it.
No, I can see it.
Yeah, this is Barney's, right?
Yes.
Just in time.
I'm on time, oh my God. Hello, how are you?
Okay. My name is Joe Golden. For those that don't know me, I'm the township engineer. And I'm here tonight to talk about the walkable communities and some of the things we've done, primarily on the Newton-Compton Turnpike. First, I'd like to apologize. The plans that you have in front of you were actually created before I did a software update. I did a software update, and when I plotted them, all the configuration files were out of whack. So the colors, line weights, you're going to have to use your glasses to probably read some of that stuff. It'll be a little clearer on the board here. As I said, that's me, and we are in Pequannock, ready to talk about it. I'll be speaking, Officer Lane will be speaking a little bit about what we've done. All right, I guess a number of years ago, the township, along with the county and various people, did a study of the southern end of town for Newton-Compton Turnpike and some of the more busy crosswalk areas that we have throughout the town. They created a study, and the folks there decided what was the most important thing that we needed to do on the turnpike. So they came out with a number of priorities and a number of recommendations. The first thing that they wanted to do is improve visibility at the crosswalk locations. There's certain areas of town where parking sits, and if folks are trying to cross the road, it's very difficult to see where they are and to drive accordingly. Traffic calming, reduce speeds, improve signage and pavement marking signage, access management study. Access management studies involve how many points you can actually use to turn onto a major road. Right now we have a significant number of points that come from parking in the rear of some facilities, driveways and things like that. It's very difficult to see when you try to get back on the road if there's cars parked and if you don't have adequate visibility. So that's what an access management study is. We haven't done that, and that's not part of this presentation, but that was one of the recommendations. Evaluate road alignment and circulation. That's how the roads are right now, the way the configuration of the crosswalks are, and some of the roads that come in on a skewed angle. Intersection modifications really is a result of number 5. Whatever we find there with the recommendation on alignment, etc., then we may look at some intersection modifications. That was what was on the report. What we did is we tried to take, and I say it's myself, Officer Lane, and Mr. Holberg, we took a look at what the recommendations were. I put together a set of plans, essentially emulating what all the recommendations of the report were. So that we did. I put it into the report. There were 11 specific areas, concerns, and recommendations that we looked at. We met with the county engineer. We have to keep in mind that this is a county road, so anything we want to do will be evaluated by the county, and just because we'd like to do it or we propose it, it doesn't necessarily mean the county's going to improve it. Based on those meetings and discussions, the plans were revised. So we did a revised set of plans, which I'll be showing today. I'm also going to show what the original recommendations were so that you can compare what the original recommendations are against what was ultimately determined. And then we have a phased set of recommendations. So, Carol, if you would, please. All right, the original, this is just a cross-section of the center of town. I don't recall what this building is referred to. It's a little strip mall, a mini mall area between Pequannock Avenue and Fairview Avenue. The mini mall. Yes. I refer to it as a mini mall. So what they recommended was that we would shrink the lane widths. Right now, we only have center line striping down the center of the road. The recommendation was to add fog lines, or the white lines, the white stripes you would see on the side of the road, on both sides, and then add highly visible crosswalks. I enhanced this a little bit. Instead of just a plain highly visible crosswalk, this is called a choker, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is later when we get to the actual things we'd like to do. In looking at this, there was a number of things that changed since the first first set of recommendations. Number one is well, laws have changed, that's as big as any, but the yield to pedestrian signs are no longer acceptable. So those signs, as you'll see, have been modified. All signs must be stop for pedestrians. Yield to pedestrians, again, is no longer allowed. Any area where we're going to put signage must be a stop. If you're curious what the CR is, that's for ADA handicap accessibility, curb ramps, I would call them. Now, the problem with shrinking the lanes down like this is twofold. One is, well, there's no more parking going to be allowed on the road right now. There is some fragmented parking. I don't believe it is striped for parking at any point, but people do on and off park there. Once we stripe this will be a little bit small for parking. And the other thing was that if you cross the white line, that's actually against the law. So if we leave these wide shoulders and put the road close together and crimp the lanes in that fashion, what you end up doing is promoting people to go around vehicles that may be stopped to turn, etc. And they will be crossing the white line. So what we'll be doing is we'll be promoting people to break the law, and then obviously your police force would be involved then, and that would make people not very happy at all. So we kind of got off of that. The first three items I want to talk about, again, it was narrow the lanes, north and southbound, the fog lines, and at the crosswalks. So I think I talked about all of those. Okay, one more. So what we did is we changed that, and I'm starting at the very southern end of town by the border with Wayne, and I'll work my way north as we go along. We modified that so that the lanes again are being shrunk, which is again number one on the recommendations, and the lanes will be narrowed. But instead of narrowing based on the center line, we're going to modify the center of the road. Now there's a couple things that happen with this that helps us. One is if we do major restriping, we have a lot of striping that exists. The yellow lines down the center of the road. If we were to move the road and have to move those yellow lines, and you'll see especially when we get more towards the center of town here, the cost to remove the lines is actually as much almost as putting in the new striping. So ideally we'd like to coordinate this with the county when they want to repave the roads, except the county has no intention of repaving this road in the near future. So what we're doing really is we're looking at something that we would do now, maybe someday when the county repaves, and we see how this works out, we might consider something else. Another item we considered, which I don't have a slide for, unfortunately, but is to go back to the two lanes very close together, shift them to one side, and create a dual bike lane, or bike lanes on either side. Well, for the problem with shifting them to one side is, again, we have the yellow line there. Having the double bike lanes, it would meet the bridge crossing, etc. However, then you're promoting people on bicycles to actually go in the direction of traffic, and that is not something we would ever want. A standard bicycle safety, you would want to be on either side of the road. So doing the formal bike lanes, one on each side, and with the buffers and the space needed, we would end up really pushing the lanes back together again, and there would barely be enough of space for bikes. So even though we don't have bike lanes, what this accomplishes by having these stripes here, bike lanes would typically require about 4 feet. So we have the 4 feet on either side. So if folks want to be on bicycles, we have the 4 or 5 feet. Although it's not ID'd as a bicycle lane, but they would be able to travel between the curb and the proposed yellow line. I'm open to questions, incidentally, as we traverse through this. The next set of slides really is going to be a continuation of a lot of what I talked about here. So if there's anything you folks have on the split of lanes or how we have it now.
I guess my only question
Sure.
would be is what you just said, the last statement you said. How is a bike lane different than having the 4 feet allowing somebody to travel with a bike and legally, not legally, that?
Yeah, what it is it won't be a designated bike lane.
Okay.
I mean, you can bike down the turnpike now
Right.
relatively safely, except there is no striping for cars to weave in and out. There will be striping there now. Come on, sir. The striping there really, it's like when you're on a major county road, when you have a fog line, there's plenty of room. If I was going to get into the whole smart streets, what's it called, complete streets. If I got into the whole complete streets discussion, bike lanes, the width of the bike lane, etc., is part of a complete streets parameter, and you don't always have to identify it as a bike lane. As long as you provide the space, then it sort of doubles as a bike lane. And the reason I like it this way is we don't have to worry about the traffic facing it. If you do a formal striped bike lane, with the striping and widths and everything else, we get real tight on the road, so it makes it
Thank you.
quite difficult. Okay. All right, so all we're really doing now is continuing north. Again, as I said, you can see this a lot better than you can in your plots. When I get my configurations done, I'll make another set of plots so you can see a little bit better. So this is the area again by the Pequannock Mall, the mini mall. You see we have the striping and we have the choker. So what the choker really is it's just striping at this point. As you come down the road, not only do we have thinned lanes, but when you get to the pedestrian crossings, you have additional striping acts as a choker. So from a driver's eye, the road appears to get a little bit thinner, and hopefully folks will slow down. All these things we're talking about, people have a tendency to speed, as we all know. All these measures will actually slow people down. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to slow down to 25 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour. But the whole idea is to make people more aware that we do have pedestrians and there are choker areas. Alternatives to this that were discussed is traffic calming measures where we actually put bump outs in the curb and thin the roads out. The problem with those is they're very difficult to manage on flat roads because you have problems with drainage, and then additionally, if we have to do snow plowing, emergency services, they cause a lot of problems. So we've decided to go with stripe solutions. The other area too is to have some more crosswalks. So this is the first place you see that we have a crosswalk where there was none before. The study would have liked to put crosswalks at the intersections, and the county would have liked us to put crosswalks at the intersection. However, as you can see with these skewed intersections, we couldn't put a crosswalk here because we'd be into this intersection. If we do one over here, it might work, but there's poles here, there's a pole here. There's a number of things that interfere with putting the crosswalks at the intersections. So this is a mid-street crossing, not something that we'd always want to have, but I think it'll work okay here. There's some additional type of signage I'll talk about later when I get to signage, but right now I really just want to look at the striping.
So Joe, there's no parking in front of the mini mall now?
No,
All right.
there will be no parking anywhere on the turnpike
Is there
throughout.
enough room? What is the New Jersey transit buses?
There are bus stops, they will stop there and at traffic
How
light will
far
stop.
out do they push cars into the?
Yeah, there's a bus stop right there.
Yeah, there's actually there's another one farther down. Bus stops are always the issue. The bus stops that we have now really don't allow for complete distance you need. You're supposed to stop and or slow down. We would prefer they stop. I'll leave it up to Officer Lane if he wants to speak anything on that with the bus stops.
First, you want to hope, can't be naive to think that people aren't going to go around buses. You would like to think that they are going to stop and wait, being that there is a painted median in the line, and to cross over that would be grossly negligent. You would hope that they would wait behind the bus and wait for the bus to proceed and then follow the bus up. That's almost a wait and see measure. Really don't know how people are, how people are going to act or react when they're behind a bus, at a bus stop, when the road has been choked down, so to speak, to a more narrow driving lane. So I really don't know the answer to how someone's going to react behind a bus.
This will all be posted, no parking, or?
It's possibly, that's something we would look
I
at.
see one issue with the mall is you have a dance studio there.
Okay.
And let's say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can see the cars lined up, and the parents bring the kids up, they let them out, and they stay there until they get inside, then they leave. And, there's a good backup, at the time of the classes begin.
Sure. One of the options we have is to jog traffic, if you will. And that is, you can have block to block where you have the split like this, for example here, and then you have a block where you don't have the split. It creates a jog in traffic. That is a traffic calming measure. I think the county would be okay with that because it's not physical. What we're doing here really is we're balancing our intention, which is walkable communities. We're balancing our intention of getting people to slow down, stop, create openings in traffic for people to cross, with the fact this is a county road and no one's going to want to slow down. Again, we're dealing with two pieces of human nature. one is to go faster, and the other is to take your time and walk. So, you know, that's where the whole process comes in. And safety, obviously, is number one, and of course, people do have to park. I believe there is designated parking, but in reality, people will park
There's
up
a lot of parking area.
Yeah.
It's a large lot.
Oh, sorry.
On that specific spot, I'm not sure what your intention was. Would you, where the bus stop is, and where any bus stop is it your intention that the bus would stay in the driving lane and not move to the curb?
No, it would move to the
No,
curb.
we move.
Okay, because I can tell you, everybody's gonna pass that
Yeah,
bus.
it would move to the curb.
That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Essentially
similar to
right out
why
here.
we went to this route as well. If you recall in the first slide when I talked about just having a double yellow in the center line.
Right.
Anytime anyone's making a left turn in either direction, then everybody would cross the white line to go around. So, you know, one way or the other, folks are gonna cross. We would hope, in reviewing the two alternatives, this would be a safer alternative, because the buses are much less infrequent than people stopping there, parking there, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Leading up to the railroad tracks, or that used to be there, there's really only two business sections and going northbound that people do tend to park in front of, and that's the mini mall and it's the barber shop. Really, that's the only two businesses that people are parking in front of. So, as Joe was saying, you can alternate that center median to be thinner at that point, to thicker as you pass the mini mall, an expanded center median, okay, and choke it down with the fog line. And then as you're approaching the barber shop, then you can open it back up again, because remember, now we're going into the center of town there. So that is going to be, I believe, Dave, that's going to be phase 2.
Yeah, and I think, you know, some of the balancing and decision points here are, yeah, we've spent a lot of time internally as staff looking at all the different issues, but there are some policy issues that have to be decided regarding, you know, where we're gonna allow parking and where we're not. You know, one of the issues that we've had and we've been, you know, we're attempting to deal with here is the addition of a crosswalk in this, you know, the very southern portion of the turnpike where there is none. So we've got a new crosswalk right in front of the mini mall, and the problem is if you permit parking, so, you know, we could redesign the plan to shift the traffic, you know, to the other side and actually have allowable parking, but now with cars parked, you lose the visibility to the crosswalk for people who are trying to cross. So there needs to be balance of what are we trying to accomplish ultimately here. Someone's not going to be happy with the ultimate result. You know, whether it be the parents of the dance kids or the people attempting to cross, we can't satisfy everyone 100%. So this is one of the decision points that we've kind of haggled with back and forth internally for quite a while. This is our suggestion. Because we think having a crosswalk here is appropriate, because there aren't any in that southern section, as Mr. Bertuna will attest to and has asked for a long, long time. We think this is appropriate, and yeah, it's going to require some public education in terms of, you know, once we do this, parking in front of the building on the turnpike really isn't appropriate anymore. But there is adequate parking on that site. So it's not like there isn't an alternative, which is an issue we run into as we get further north on the turnpike. Parking becomes scarce in some areas, and we don't have alternatives. So, yeah, in terms of staff suggestion or recommendation, we think that the crosswalk and the thin lanes and the reduction in parking is the appropriate thing here, and the people who are used to parking there are going to have to do something else.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that building that we're talking about, that location on the south side of the building, there is a driveway.
Yes.
The parents will have to go in the driveway, go around the building, and come back out.
Correct, it's a one-way,
It's a,
it's a
right.
one-way
Right.
driveway.
Comes out the other side.
Entrance only, yes.
That site has more than sufficient parking.
Yes.
It's just education.
So this is the final recommendation.
This is our recommendation.
This is your
but, you know,
recommendation.
It's still to be decided. That's kind of why we're at this point, so you can see, and we want input from the public, from the business, from you guys, so before we actually do anything.
You know,
Right.
especially in this phase, we are looking at, it was presented to us as walkable community. So pedestrians are our most important
Right.
topic right now. So we want to make sure we're doing it for the pedestrians, not for the Escalades and the, you know, the Expeditions and everything like that that are parked out in front there.
Right. How wide is that yellow line in the center? How, is that like a foot, 2 feet? How big is that?
This area
Yeah,
here,
right.
maybe about 4 feet.
That's not gonna be one of those where you can get in that lane and then turn left,
No,
one of those
absolutely
crazy, I don't know what you
No,
call them.
suicide lanes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
you can see it though, this is 11 or 12, and then so this is maybe half, so it might be 6, I don't know, 5. But it'll be striped, as you can see, with the hatching, with the crosses on it. So it'll be clearly not an area where you're allowed to.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, continuing north, nothing much really special to talk about here. We're adding a crossing at Marlin. We'll have the stop for pedestrian signs, so I didn't have on either of these, the signs. Later on, I'm going to talk about, we're going to use the center line signs that sit in the middle of the road. We're going to add those throughout here. I don't have them shown on the plan yet because where we're going to put them and how we're going to space them, et cetera, is flexible. And, you know, Officer Lane knows how he wants to put them out there, and so I don't really even have them on here. But there will be some signage that goes at each one of these intersections and potentially some more. But right now, really, the set of slides we have now is more just so everybody has an understanding of what the striping was.
Now,
Going back-
are you expecting to change the speed limit? No? Just drive behavior? All right.
Going back to the actual recommendations from the report, was to add the crosswalk Marlin near Maresca's building supply, add the crosswalk at Greenway Avenue in front of 119 Turnpike, and update the crosswalk at Irving Street, repaint and add striping. So as we, again, what I can fit in this slide is the first part of it. And as we continue down, again, you'll see we've added the crossing here by Greenwood, and we're going to change this whole configuration by Irving. And I don't have the final answer here because this is also under review right now for the Trails program. So however the trail, wherever the trail will come across the turnpike here, more than likely at this spot here, we'll determine how we have crosswalks with everything else because the trail crossing will really be the primary crossing there. Any other crossing we have will be similar to where I have it here now. Okay?
Yep.
The next slide is where we start to get tricky. This is obviously the center of town, the most busy area that we have. There are several problems here. This was the recommendations on the report. You'll notice add parking on the north side of the turnpike, that'd be this area here. Eliminate spaces in front of Boston Lewis Jewelers, that's this area here. I actually didn't take them all out in this layout. The report called for all these spaces to be eliminated with the idea that if someone's making a left turn, then traffic can go around them. It was not something that I felt was safe or that we should promote, so I didn't put that in this particular version. And update the crosswalks, eliminate all spaces within 20 foot of a driveway, etc. This was, again, my initial layout, just doing what was in the report. This is when we sat down and we had a lot of problems with it. Officer Lane brought up the fact, and I agree 100%, that the parking that we put here really would not service the mall area here. They would be here only for the folks and businesses on this side of the road. The problem is that this is relatively tight. We're adding a parking here, and all these people are going to go directly across the street. No one is going to get out of the car, walk down to the crosswalk, and go across the street here. So what we're doing is we're opening doors into traffic, again, in an already congested area, and we're promoting people to jaywalk. So, again, we understand the challenge that we need to maintain parking for the businesses in this area. However, we are trying to maintain safety as a major priority. Another item, excuse me.
There's also another bus stop up there.
Yeah, there's a bus stop right here. Right in the corner,
And across
They
the
should move
street.
the other one, they should move it too. The one on the opposite side.
Right.
Would actually look better now that there's a park.
Yeah, because
Yes.
the bus stop's in the,
Right now, it's right after the first driveway.
right here.
Yeah, yep.
Um, So the other problem with this, and this is where we talked about access studies and things like that, is you've got circulation here, you've got a fair amount of circulation here, very difficult to see. In between the buildings here, you have access to get into the rear for parking, very difficult to see. And then we have access here as well. So we have some parking in the back here, which is really necessary to sustain these buildings, these businesses. But if we follow the law, and I actually, when I did this, pinched things in a little bit, which I'm not going to really be able to do. This is again how the recommendation was. But we need to maintain a minimum of 20 feet, and I have to check it, maybe move to 25. But we have to maintain a minimum of 20 feet clear visibility from a driveway for parking. So if I go 20 feet in each direction of each of these driveways, we eliminate more parking. Sir?
Have they taken line of sight into consideration? That 20 feet doesn't seem like it's enough of a space for line of sight when someone's exiting one of those driveways in a vehicle.
Yes, I mean, when they do the quote engineering studies, that's taken into consideration. They assume that you're first going to stop for the sidewalk, then you're going to edge your car out where you stop now at the edge of the vehicles. The 20 feet gives you the visibility, again, not from the curb line where you might be pulling out, but from where you would stop as you pulled out. You know, we're going to pull out.
That's
So-
if everybody drives that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, we're trying to balance, the safety, make a walkable community, but we have to sustain these business because if we don't sustain these businesses, nobody's going to want to walk here anyway. So that's what we had. We decided against it. You'll also notice, as much critical as anything, is they were eliminating the left turn lane here. So anyone that was going to turn into the lot would stop here to turn without a left turn lane, and then you would start queuing traffic back up because they'd have to wait for an opening to cross over. So it was another thing that we didn't feel was
And that was not an option. We worked very hard to get those left turn lanes, and removing them, it was not even, was ill-advised, even with the county engineering said, just absolutely not, absolutely not.
And when they say we work very hard, we can't just make a change to a county road without county approval. What Officer Lane is saying is that it took a long time to get county approval. It's what I said early on, is we can't just do anything we want. Everything that you see here still has to go to the county and get their blessing. So, what alternative do we have to that? This is what the alternative that we talked about is. Again, maintaining, the striping down the middle. You can see the old striping goes right about here. So what I've done is I've extended the queuing out a little bit farther, so that now you can have, 1, 2, maybe 3 vehicles making a left to help open this traffic line right here. We've added the crosswalk, and people will have to stop before the crosswalk. So right now, you can see it goes all the way out to here. When people stop, they're really already blocking the crosswalk. So the first thing they'll have to do is stop for pedestrians, and then they'll be able to travel safely on from there.
What about making the left turn from the opposite direction, heading northbound?
Into here,
Yeah.
that's not going to change.
Even though you have striping, it doesn't indicate a turn.
No, this is actually the exact same striping that's there now.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, we didn't change that right now. We don't intend to add a left turn lane there. I don't have traffic study information, if you will,
Yeah.
but it was in reading the report. Obviously, the folks involved in the report did a lot more research than I did on this. They did not indicate that as being a major problem. So if it hasn't been identified,
Well, just because you say the center section would be a not be an exit, which means everybody using those stores would all have to go out. That's that one entrance.
oh, you were talking about making a left out of here?
No, well,
You mean
two
left in
things,
here?
both. Because if you, which I like, by the way, not eliminating that as an exit. In other words, it'd be an entrance only, right, in the center?
Yeah, I haven't quite gotten there, but yes.
Okay, but if that means you're gonna have more traffic coming out, would that mean that you potentially could queue up making the left turn into that lot now that more cars have to use that as an exit?
I wouldn't plan on it right now. I mean, I could certainly look at that.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider it a priority right now. And what the gentleman is doing is really jumping ahead a little bit.
Sorry.
You do notice I have a no exit sign here. This would be one of the more controversial issues for us to talk about. But I'm going back to what I said before with eliminating parking spaces. If this is an exit where you can leave, I've got to go 20 feet in each direction, I'll probably lose 2 more parking spaces. By having it being an entrance only, we don't have to go with the visibility. The county already said that they would promote something like this. I don't know what the right-of-way issues are, I don't know who owns these, I don't know if there's cross-access easements. There's a lot of things that would have to be discussed for that to happen. But as far as traffic calming and maintaining parking for the businesses, this would be one of our best solutions, because you got 2-way here, you've got 2-way here, and only 1-way entrance only here. You'll notice too, we have plenty of visibility now here and here for the cars leaving. We're opening this intersection up. Parking right now goes a little further. So instead of limiting almost all the parking here, we're actually getting 2 spaces, we're just shoving them down a little bit. If you go back to the other plan, you'll notice it had recommended no parking, even though we left something there. But again, our concern is to keep these businesses viable as well. We have the larger queuing area, obviously a potential for no exit. You can see the striping is still there. We've got a full 20 feet on either side here, and then there's the bus stop, which could move, you know, as you know, the bus stops aren't that difficult to get to move. Again, we're going to do the little signs that you'll see later. They will be strategically placed throughout here. Again, we're talking about the portable ones that go on the ground, which I'll show you. Any questions on that before I'll get into signage later. Okay. Good. Oh, one more thing, before we go over it. Phase 1 stops at the railroad crossing. I don't know if I was clear about that. Phase 1 would stop at the railroad crossing. That would be, least invasive to everything down here. Will give us a chance to do everything north of the crossing. It's very straightforward. We don't have to worry about removing any striping or any arrows. It's really just signage and striping. The phases really can move any way that the council feels. Okay. Excuse me. Continuing north. We're not going to change much right here at the intersection where your reed is. Again, this was recommended to be eliminated in the original report. They want to add parking spots in front of my bagel heaven, want compliance right away, increase pedestrian signage at existing crossings. So what I've done here is, and they wanted this eliminated at the left turn lane. Again, I don't believe that should happen. They were going to eliminate this left turn. You might get one parking spot here. Again, it's an isolated parking spot in the middle of a dangerous intersection. It really just didn't make sense. So what we did is we kept it as is with the left turn lane, maintained the parking in front of the businesses here. Where we started making changes is down when we get more towards Rita's and this area, pardon me, the Rite Aid, appliance store, et cetera, we would do a traffic crimp. We're going to kind of move things now more towards the center. This striping here would be eliminated, the white striping, and the double yellow would be left maintained essentially where it is now. Traveling south, there wouldn't be any change really, any discernible change. But traveling north, we're going to crimp the lane down. We're going to make enough room to do parking in front of those businesses there. That's, again, an item that's really on the table for discussion. It is in the report. I think we can do it safely. The idea, I guess, now is that the only way to park in the front of this business is across the sidewalk, sometimes overlaying the curb. We would hope, these are a little extra wide, you can't tell, that would allow people to be able to get in and out, open their doors on the traffic side a little bit more safely. And we're hoping because of the jogging the traffic here, with the striping, and some of the signs we're going to talk about, that would slow people down.
And for those of you who are unsure where that is, that's where My Bagel Heaven is, in that building right there. Yeah, it's a very short parking lot, very short. How we don't get more accidents there, I don't know.
Would you have to remove the existing curbage and sidewalk?
No. All we're doing is we're advantaging the fact that the road is just very wide here.
Yeah.
We're eliminating the striping, which is what shrinks the road down now, and shifting the traffic a little to the center.
If you have for people to park in forward and then at the back into the turnpike to get out?
Parallel
No, it's parallel parking, similar to what you have downtown.
Oh, what are the lines?
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Yeah, this is a little bit misleading. This is the dimensions for when we put on plans, we being engineers, put on plans in a typical 20-foot space. There are 22 spaces in between, the end space is 20. So this is, says, you can read it, says typical 20, 22, 22, 20, and there's a little bit of space in between.
The tenants and customers would most likely continue to park the same way diagonally in that parking lot, and then proceed to back out, and then proceed north into the, and out the driveway there. And then they would just be added this parking stalls in front of those businesses.
Another area of concern report was the intersection here and the crosswalk here. There was a recommendation to put the yield/stop bar before this area here, but then you were going to be looking for people to stop here, stop again here. This is not promoted that people to walk here and here and here. I'm sure more people than not don't stay in the crosswalk. So this is an area that we're going to look at with options a little further down the road.
You want a question? Joe?
No, it's okay.
Yes.
Parallel parking in front of my Bagel Heaven, you don't think with that coming around that curve that that's going to be difficult, people pulling up and then trying to back in with the way people accelerate around that turn?
Yes. I mean, it will be as difficult really as any other place that you have along that road. That's the whole idea of why we'd like to slow people down.
Yeah.
The hope is that when we put the job, do you mind going back? Yeah, the idea is, and we may even do some striking on this side, I don't have it in here, but this neck down, or we might make it a little larger, this is again kind of graphic, is what will get people to slow down. The fact that they've got to go left and shift over, and you've got vehicles potentially parked there, where you would hope to slow people down. Beyond that, it's the driver to the fatal wall. Yes.
Did you contemplate perhaps angled parking in front of my Bagel Heaven and such?
No.
You know, they have in Main Street Butler.
Yeah, no, we tend to try to stay away from that because that's actually creates less visibility than parallel parking, because you really have to look over your shoulder with angled parking. So the parallel parking, the only time we use angled parking is when you don't have sufficient space, to do or too much space. It's kind of
That doesn't really buy you anything, does it?
No.
In terms of number of spaces available.
No, it doesn't. No.
And I don't think
Not in this
I don't
case.
think that area of the turnpike is wide enough for.
The reason why is angle park is the driveway's too narrow, so they have to park on an angle because otherwise cars would go by.
And Butler has the same issue with the curve in Main Street.
Yeah.
Now, when we get to phase 2 and we start talking about, there's some other ideas that aren't shown here, the things that we can do. We may modify that a little bit, but we're following what was presented in the study as best we can here. I didn't want to change everything. A lot of effort was put into the study. We want to keep a good part of that. The next slide, just to give everybody a better idea of what these crossings are, because I will also show you these type of crossings and chokers and things further down the road. But again, it is just striping. You do have clear mobility here. You can see a little closer with the blow-up that there's plenty of space for bicycles to come through. 4 foot would be the standard. We have the choke there. Next slide, please. And one of the things I'd like to do, and this could be undone if we had to, there was always a concern with it, but to put rumble strips outside the traveled lane. Now, I want to be clear that the rumble strips are outside the traveled lane. Rumble strips, as a traffic calming measure, that you drive over them to slow you down, they're very invasive. They're noisy. They cause a lot of problems. The intent here really is that even though it's striped, especially people who, from around here that drive on this frequently, that'll last a week. And then they'll realize it's just a crimp down and people are not going to slow down and go through there. I would like to put some rumble strips so that you have to actually stay in that shrunken, maybe 10-foot or even 9-foot lane area, or else your tires are going to hit the rumble strips. You won't damage a vehicle or anything, but it'll be annoying to the driver. So we need county approval. These rumble strips are nothing more than grooves cut into the pavement. There's nothing sticking up. There's nothing that would bother the plows. Again, non-invasive. If you're driving down a highway, they have those rumble strips if you start to fall asleep and drift. Essentially, it's the same thing as that. Again, with the idea is to get people to really slow as they go through this area here. Sir?
You don't think that a snow plow would do any damage to those? I mean, they've
No.
damaged the crosswalks that, those pavers that they glue down. I mean, they ripped them right out of the roadway.
The difference with the pavers is that area is milled, and then another material was put on that, so that more like an adhesive,
It
if
was
you
a
will,
rubber
to the binding.
epoxy.
Yes,
Yeah, rubber
adhesive, I
epoxy.
know what they used, yeah.
This we just take, the machine just cuts the existing asphalt. So there's no additional anything. They're just little grooves that are cut into the asphalt.
No, as long as they plow properly with the.
Oh yeah, the plows will slide right over it, because there's no lip whatsoever, it's all
As
down.
long as they don't dig.
Yeah, I mean, we have a straight road, you know.
Next time
We
you
have a
go
road like this, there'll
23,
just be these
you
little
got
notches
the
that.
Oak Ridge Road,
Yeah.
they've got those on the side of the road there for about that.
Yeah, you'll know, I mean, again, as you go down even Route 23, they've been used for a long time along sides of highways, there's never been any problems with plowing.
Yeah, as
Like
long as they
dams
plow
that plow
properly.
or the road. So we're worried about that as well. Okay. All right, we're also proposing these at Town Hall. This is the church here at Town Hall. Me personally, I feel this is probably one of the busiest intersections that we have in the town with a lot of traffic. Often there's folks parked here, whether it be for church service or whatever might be happening there. So we would do one of these pictures there as well. I don't have the rumble strips here, but it's an option depending how we do it. Right now, we would not be changing the center line striping of the road. We would leave it as is, and we would just put the pinch points in with some additional signage, which again is at the end. I'll show the options on the sign. Sir.
Now, in front of First Reformed Church,
Yes.
the line of sight is atrocious there. They park right up almost to the crosswalk. When you're coming down the turnpike, you can't see the people trying to cross between the
Exactly.
cars.
Yes.
And so that has to be addressed.
Pardon me?
Are you gonna allow parking there in the front or no?
I believe parking would be allowed as it is right now, but you have to understand this striping out here is going to be 25 feet in each direction, plus the crosswalk, which will be 6 feet, say. So we're talking 56, almost 60 feet. There'll be 60 feet of no parking. It's
That way
difficult
you
to
can
tell
see
when you're
the
just looking
people.
at a drawing, but we'll stretch that out, so that you do have the visibility. Because again, the design parameters and all the studies on these distances has been done through years of traffic studies by various traffic engineers and pedestrian safety people, and they've determined that these distances are adequate to see the pedestrians. And as I said, we got much more signage things that we're going to talk about. Those little signs that sit in the center of the road. When you put those there, along with the pinch, it becomes a much more. Go ahead, sir.
Now, what about lighting in that area too? Because that's important, because at night, when people are in church services, when they're coming out, there's no lighting in that area either. It's dark.
Yeah, I didn't look at the lighting for this particular exercise. We can
It's
certainly
dark.
look at that.
Would you please?
Yeah, we'll look at that. Okay. Similarly, down by Marco's, in the formerly Friendlies, there's an existing crosswalk there now. We're just going to height it. Again, these I don't have up top here, but these were also recommendations in the study, even though it wasn't that section of town. So, same thing will be done there. Obviously, this will be done after the sewer work's done and the road gets repaved, et cetera, et cetera. Hence, again, we're pushing it out to phase 2. So, that would be the last area. Next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the signage. These are signs I've been referring to that I maybe should have done in the front so everybody knew what I was talking about, so at the end. But these are just the examples. We would put them farther away from the intersection than you see in this particular picture. You see they have them at multiple areas. Officer Lane will decide exactly how we're going to deploy them in the safest manner. They're portable, they're breakaway, they hit a lot. So,
Good drivers.
yeah, unfortunately, so they will spring back to life to an extent, and you can always replace the panels as necessary. So, the base and everything else, we'll have for a long time, and then be able to do something with that. They make fancier ones that, excuse me, this is side panels, which I don't think we want necessarily, so you can read them on the side, but I think that's a little bit too much.
Excuse me, Joe, why did you stop there?
Pardon?
Why did you stop there? You won't go down further by Jones Hardware, or?
No. Again, the traffic calming effort itself was for the southerly end of town.
Right.
There's nothing mentioned coming up further.
Okay.
Clearly, when we start to implement this type of stuff, I'd say it's not going to be isolated just to the areas we're showing today. I think Jones Hardware is another appropriate area.
Right.
You'll see it again when the next slide. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, because if we want crosswalks, we want them to look uniform. We don't want the town to look so
Right.
patchy.
And if I can, I think, conceptually, to get to this point has been
I know.
quite a while. I think we'd like to implement it in the area that the study was done on. And we'd like to kind of see how it works. And we can modify if necessary and apply those concepts throughout the community, not just on the Turnpike Boulevard,
Right.
West Parkway, essentially everywhere. But I think we'd kind of like to implement a portion and get a feel for it before we.
Yeah, definitely. That's gonna be quite a feat.
Okay, I think to this point, signage, et cetera, I think has been pretty straightforward. Most opinions will say that those little signs on the side are nice.
What about the middle school?
Pardon, sir?
The middle school, PV.
Again, that's, as we discussed, that'll be something that we'll look at.
That's-
All this stuff that I'm talking about, this type of technology, we can apply to any intersection. It's just a question of, obviously it's not cheap as well. So, we'll implement that as we can. This is, excuse me, where you start to have some variable. These are the types of signs that you would put, you had mentioned there's site, light issues at the church. You can start to have signage all push button control, so that these things wouldn't be flashing, they wouldn't be on unless someone was crossing the street and wanted to push the button. They have, signs without any lights, which is this one, but they have them without lights. They have them like this with reflectors, with lights that actually rotate around, in these different types of positions. You can see them in the day. They have them on cantilever arms that will go across the road, so you would see them well in advance of the intersection. They have this type of a lit sign. These are flashers that would come on, so the sign would be lit, but the flashers wouldn't be on unless a pedestrian was crossing. So there's any number of methods of push button and types of signage we can put at the areas that we have the greatest concern. The only thing with this type of stuff is you got to take into consideration the character of the community. Do we really want a lot of bright, flashy signs overhanging, look like downtown New York or whatever city you want to talk about? So
Just in certain areas.
I haven't put these anywhere specifically. They even make, it's not shown here, they even make lights that are in the lanes that will actually flash as you approach an intersection. You have those little reflectors, but they are potentially invasive for the plows. They do make some that are good for that, but you can go pretty far in how much you want to slow down an intersection. But again, I leave that decision over there with the council. Most of this we wouldn't want to do in phase one on the southerly end, except for possibly in front of the Pequannock Mall. And there we wouldn't need anything, but maybe a sign like this. But beyond that, I don't know if there's a bigger problem in the evening. The fact that we're opening up the lanes, the visibility will be long. These are usually better for the more downtown areas where you don't have long visibility, as you were talking about, at Jones Hardware maybe, or at the church, or school even. And again, they don't do anything unless you push the button. So that's what we like there. So where we are right now, beyond the presentation, I've asked for a cost estimate for phase one with the striping company via the co-op. They haven't gotten me a number, but my rough calculations, I would say phase one would be somewhere in the area of $15,000. Phase two, we're going to make adjustments and recommendations following how we see phase one works. We'll make adjustments on the fly, maybe add intersections, as the council approves. Road alignment modifications, those are the most difficult, most costly, but we do have ideas on road alignments. One of the options is that we have a lot of roads in town that come in on high skews. You can realign those roads if they come in at a 90-degree angle. But to do that, we've got to verify right away, we've got to deal with costs. There's a lot of considerations that have to be looked at, but that is something that's definitely on the table. And the county, said they would support it. We need county approval. Public outreach is going to be an important part of this. When you look into smart streets and complete streets, they suggest putting out information to drivers, information in stores for pedestrians walking to be cognizant of what's going on out there. Same thing with education, street smart. There really are a lot of stuff that is put out. I don't know if it's appropriate for the community here, but we'll look at it and decide whether or not we think we should have it. certainly we'll put some things on the website, you know, to try to educate people there and in the schools. Pedestrian safety campaign, again for the schools, et cetera, et cetera. And then last is the age-old question, why did the chicken cross the road? And the mom is telling them it really doesn't matter why you cross the road as long as you use the crosswalk. And that's going to be the educational component. That's pretty much it. Questions? Ma'am?
I have a few questions. When you were talking about repaving the road and to making sure that the lines are correct and all on that, that's something that's funded by the county?
No.
Or is
All the
that
funding
something
for
from-
any of this work would be coming from the township.
But then the support from the county is in terms of what we want to do here.
Yes, they have to approve what we're doing, and what would happen is, you can switch to the next slide. Oh, sorry, does that work? Yeah, there's another one. Yeah. See, there you go. If anybody wants to look at these are just some signs. While we're chatting here, that came up, you'll find an interesting one there. I Googled flashing crosswalks. The county would approve it, and then if they came in saying they decided they're going to repave the road, then the onus is on the county to replace everything in time that we had after. So we would pay for the first implementation of striping for the second. Beyond that, then the county would maintain it.
Okay. And then also where Industrial Road is, there's Bruno's and then
Sharon?
the mini roller.
But we really can't hear what's going on. I don't know if you wanted to come over by the mic and say so everybody can hear the question.
Okay.
So you don't have to answer it 2 or 3 times, Joe. Did your foot fall asleep?
No, that's another story. I
Oh.
just finished my first full marathon.
Uh-oh.
22 miles.
You don't recommend it, I guess.
So I'm stretching out my legs.
I'm sorry, I made you.
Congratulations.
That's okay, I need a stretch.
And you should run to
Thank
them.
you. Actually, I usually run down the...
My father used to work at Bondland Industries, that's at the end of there.
Mike's one.
Turnpike. So I've done it where I've actually run all the way down the whole entire turnpike and back, so.
I don't know,
It's
yeah.
good to have a walkable community and that,
You're making notice. Okay. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains. One of my questions also was where, I think it's Industrial Road, where your first phase is. There's the area where people are coming out of that street, the other street right across, the mini mall area, and then there's Bruno's. Did the police department ever think about having some kind of traffic control between 5 and 5:30 during the busy hours to help people come out of that area?
We haven't really received any calls regarding it.
Okay.
So it's not, right now, it's not really an area of concern.
No, it's not. Okay. Because where I
Well, and
used to...
you know, again, when we put those stop for pedestrian signs,
Okay.
that enforces that as well. And if it's an area that's a great concern, then we can consider the push buttons.
Okay. Okay.
There are alternatives.
And then the bus stops, the signs, do we have control to move those, or is that something from the state or the?
That is New Jersey Transit.
Okay.
We could definitely look into that. They would have to send a representative out to take a look at our suggestions and see if they would be worthwhile.
Right. There's a formal process that we would have to go through to get it moved. We would have to provide information of why we want to move it, et cetera, and then they would either approve or deny it.
Okay. No, I just want to also comment, I think it's a good idea with no parking in the front there. Because actually last week when I was leaving town, there was a mother, you know where you pull into that mini mall where the dance studio is? She was actually standing in the middle there and there was an SUV parked before that pull through. And then another SUV and they were standing right in the middle to cross over. So I had stopped. But I thought to myself, if a car came in to make a right into that parking lot, they would have never saw that mother and that kid. They would have been hit right then and there. So I think it's a good idea that you have no parking in the front there. Because I'm sure in that mini mall, there's also entrances in the back that they can, yes, right, so, okay. No, and just to comment on that, because where I used to work in Wayne, off of Alps Road, and there was always a problem with traffic control, and there was always an officer there from 5 to 5:30 to help just control, like stop the traffic and go. But if you implement
a phase like this, that could be something in the beginning, just for a few months to see how it goes, or?
And the traffic control there is basically the stop signs at Fairview and the stop sign at Industrial.
Okay,
That you can proceed when the traffic's clear. That's, we feel that that is enough traffic control. We can't be at every intersection.
no,
You know?
no, but that's a bad, that area is sometimes very,
It's somewhat congested for, you know, just like any school is for the 5 to 10 minutes, for the
Okay.
5 minutes that the schools are getting out.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah,
Nobody walks anywhere. That's the problem.
Industrial roads are changing clientele too.
Oh, they
don't
are?
have as many
businesses
factories
that are there.
getting out at 5 o'clock. It's
Okay.
becoming more,
3 o'clock.
more consumer orientated and contractor type use.
Okay,
So it is changing. The traffic is going down that uses that street.
okay. And then with the lines that you were showing, they're gonna be even at night, like, will they have like a fluorescent type of a color, like at night for a crosswalk, or?
They are retro-reflective,
Okay,
so they do show up when lights are illuminated.
all right. And you're not gonna do the brick, right? Like what
No.
you have- Yeah, don't, it doesn't work. Okay, I think I like it. I like the idea.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sharon.
thanks.
Sorry for making you get up. I had no idea.
Members of the council, would like to just...
You have something to follow?
Time?
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have a little more of the presentation.
Okay. I just want to reiterate that Joe and along with the township engineer, the county engineer, have been working together with us, and I think that these ideas that we came up with are going to be suitable with education. I have to reiterate that with the education and enforcement. Our officers are very, very diligent. We are out on the turnpike, we are out on the side streets, our marked cars, our unmarked cars. We have a lot of guys that like to work. So we have not really seen a problem in the south end of town. Whether that be that they might see our cars or that they know we're there. We always kind of joke about it that out on the highway, you'd be hard fast to find somebody that will even run a yellow light now. They lock them up at a yellow light because they know we're everywhere. So that being said, I do agree with all the suggestions of the county. Mr. Holberg has implemented many suggestions that are going to go a long way also. He could be an engineer himself, I think. From a traffic and safety perspective, I think we're on the right line here. As I said, the violations down in or lack thereof are at a minimum right now on the turnpike. We don't really receive many complaints. When we do receive a complaint, we address it. The Traffic Bureau itself, we have a board downstairs. We write the complaint on the board, and all patrol units see that, and we're able to get everywhere in the town. What's the matter? Am I moving this way?
That way.
Which way do you want him, Frank? Is he good?
Oh, that way a little bit. He's behind that column.
Keep in
This
mind,
way.
keep in mind,
He wants you to move this way.
you want me to move where?
That way.
In front here? The other side of the
Just
table?
move that way a little bit.
Well, I can't.
There's a
2
table
feet.
there.
Go to your right.
Jump on the table?
2 feet to your right.
Sorry, here you go. Very good.
Officers like bowls, Frank.
All right, how about this? Okay, now I got my back to the council.
No, we're okay.
Okay. Unfortunately, the last 3 or 4 incidents we had with pedestrians being struck, unfortunately, we're at full pedestrian. Okay, it included jaywalking and not crossing in a crosswalk. So the drivers, the operators were doing what they were supposed to be doing and found the speed limits to be on or around what the speed is supposed to be. It's the pedestrian that was at fault, unfortunately. So education is key with that. Unfortunately, that is almost at a statewide level to get the word out. If you've ever gone, I always say, if you've ever gone to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, 28, if there's even a thought of somebody stepping off the curb, everybody locks them up. And it's almost like traffic goes like this. That's obviously what we would love all over the state of New Jersey. we have been conducting, Traffic Bureau has been conducting pedestrian crosswalk operations, where it is a controlled operation, and if you'll allow me, I can just describe that operation to you, so you understand where we're coming from. Okay. At each location on a 35-mile-an-hour road, which is the turnpike here, okay, a cone is placed at 183 feet away from the outside of the cross line, okay? At 183 feet for approaching vehicles. This is a controlled study, and I myself am the decoy. So I am wearing bright colors, okay, as I'm supposed to be, so I can be seen. And I target a vehicle that's 183 feet or outside the control zone, the zone of influence. I see that vehicle approaching, I now commit to stepping out into the crosswalk, the designated crosswalk. I then continue to cross and pray to God, pray to God that I'm going to be okay. I do it hesitantly, but it is not to trick the driver. I am not tricking anybody. I'm not running out when they're in the 183 feet zone, but I am continuing to cross. We have found that the violation rate when this is done is approximately 12.5%. Now that's very good. That is very good. The issues that we have had is people not recognizing from sight distance. Okay, now right outside here, there was a construction truck parked just north of the crosswalk. So now I was having to go out and peeking past that truck before edging out. So they weren't seeing me as well, and that was in the 25 foot of that crosswalk. So that's going to be eliminated once the zone is removed for that parking. Once the violators were stopped, they were educated. Okay, no summonses were issued. This was warnings only that we did this. Okay, people are defensive enough, and sometimes they don't know what they did wrong. So we need to educate them. So the traffic officer will introduce himself on a traffic stop and explain, waved over to the road so they know exactly where the violation occurred. He will explain to the violator what they did wrong and ask for an explanation. A lot of times, the explanation has been, I did not see the stop for crosswalk sign in the roadway. Okay. I called the New Jersey Traffic Engineering, Department of Transportation Traffic Engineering Department 2 days ago, and they responded to me with the signs that Joe and I were discussing. I would love to litter the turnpike with those. If you've gone through Hamburg Turnpike in Bloomingdale, you'll see what I mean. They have them at just about every crosswalk, and they're designated for a 35-mile-an-hour zone. The distance, the minimum distance from that outside crosswalk line is 50 feet. So now you're talking about 50 feet north, 50 feet south, okay? A driver who is driving safely, okay, and that's where enforcement comes into play, that is driving safely, is in control of the car, sees a pedestrian in the crosswalk, and then sees the stop for pedestrian in a crosswalk sign, can put 2 and 2 together and abide by the law. I see it personally, myself. And we'll be doing an operation again on Thursday, and then next week we'll be concluding our operation for this year, for this spring. I expect to have numbers of that, and I will forward them to the chain of command, and I'm sure you will see them. So I do agree with the expanded median. That way the signs will less likely
get run over.
Be hit. Exactly. And because people are going to be channeled down into a driving lane that is suitable for a car and or a truck also. I'd also like to think that we can maybe relocate our strobing portable signs that are on our telephone poles. I think the one down in the south end of town, I was talking to Dave about that, I think we could maybe move that up. Unfortunately, I looked the other day and the telephone poles start to move across the street. So, but We can maybe move them up 2 or 3 telephone poles to get them a little closer to in town. Again, our officers will be out there with the new paint. It's going to look gorgeous. New signs out there, possibly the pedestrian signs with the blinking when they want to hit the button, and the LED signs will get people's attention. And I think our town has a good reputation for enforcement, and I think we just need to get the education out there, and hopefully with the county's help or maybe with the state's help, we can get that accomplished. Does anybody have any other questions?
Council, do you have any questions too?
No, I think it's great.
The only question I have is.
Henry,
Yeah,
can you
with
come
West-
up so everybody can hear? Thank you.
Okay.
It's just for the good of everybody, so we can all hear.
Yeah, Henry Samick, 4 Misty Court, Pequannock Township, Plumpton Place, whatever. The question I have isn't so much with the turnpike as West End, where that curve is in West End by Saddle Drive and Beverage Lane. Cars go around that bend 50 miles an hour. I mean, they fly through there.
And they're usually kids.
Yeah, but still, something has to be done because it hasn't stopped. And I'm worried about with the school, they have the rear exit of the school, North Boulevard School there. It's a problem.
Well, that's more on the straightaway. That's a little further up.
Yeah,
where that-
but they fly down that way too.
Well, we are out on West End a lot, especially after school and on Hopper Avenue, from between the Boulevard and West End. Unfortunately, kids will be kids. I have no qualms with issuing that summons. I've written summonses for 56, 60 miles an hour to kids with court appearance required. They've had to come in and explain to Judge Paparazzo why they were doing that, and he's taking their license. You are going to get it. Of course, living in that area. You see
I
a lot
see it
of
all the
it.
time.
I know.
Oh, all the time.
And I'll put it downstairs on the board, on the bend, and our guys will be out there.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah, because I have a concern about that. I mean, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. When you go around that bend, you don't have a line of sight until you get around the bend to the straightaway.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry. Tom? Oh, sorry, Tom. You thought it was him, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Tom Andreas, 6 Elm Road, Plumpton Plains. Just to mention, I was on the original study team for the Walkable Communities report, so thank you to our Officer Lane and Joe Golden, Council, Mayor, Manager, for looking at that and using that as like a starting point for this, because that's excellent. That's what was our main intent with doing that report. And Kathy, to answer one of your questions, just as Dave said, when we first did that report, it was through the County Department of Transportation, and they would only look at a small section of town for the report. So we had to pick a section, and from coming to council meetings, I knew there were complaints from the Pequannock section of town, so I thought that was an ideal starting point. And we did a lot of work over there looking at things and figuring out what would be best. But there was a lot of lay people in that team too, so they might not have been the best solutions, but it was like a starting point. And so exactly what was done should have been done, so thank you. I just have one question. All the crosswalks, some of them like Marlin and some of the others look like regular crosswalks. Are they really going to be high visibility crosswalks like some of the other crosswalks?
We were not intending to do the pinch, but there'll be high visibility with striping,
And a wider area so people can see, because some of the crosswalks now are, they're narrow. So you don't get a good visibility, but if it's a high visibility, wider crosswalk, people will see it coming from a distance and know, hopefully.
And each intersection will get, which I didn't show, a stop for pedestrian fixed sign as well.
Okay.
On the side of the road on each side, so.
Yes, but the high visibility crosswalk's nice because that's where they're looking, in the road. So if they see it in the road, they might stop more. But that's the only thing I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Tom.
So,
Mike?
Mayor, let me ask a question to Officer Lane. So you would like us to put in the budget to purchase these signs?
I would very much like that. I feel that they're about $340 a piece. Nothing's cheap.
Nothing's cheap, yeah.
We-
10?
Any grant money?
10 of them?
Well, there might be.
There might be some grant money, maybe the county.
10 would be a great start.
And,
You're talking about these signs that are going in the middle of the road.
Maybe the
One
county.
right out in front of Town Hall, right here.
Okay.
That's the one.
you know, council has already provided funding under the heading of Walk with Communities, which
Right.
is intended for striping the signage, including these signs. So we do have funding available, and part of the reason for, you know, having phases is
Because of the
because
expense.
we can't do everything at once in
Right.
terms of funding. So, we do have enough funding to do, based on, you know, Joe's estimate of the striping and the signage, and depending on how many, you know, blinking signs, because they start to become expensive, so we have to be selective where we choose to put them at, you know, the really high impact locations. We do have funding, and we do want to move this forward, and that's kind of where we're at.
Do we have county's agreement with phase one?
Well, we haven't, we met with them, so we understand their concerns and their needs, and I think, you know, Joe's developed, the final plan is based on the feedback we receive from them. So I think when we submit to them for approval, they're gonna approve what we submit because we've already had that conversation.
Okay, that's
But we
good.
didn't submit for final approval because we want to get through this process, you know, the vetting and public input before
Oh, definitely.
we did that.
But Dave, isn't it easy to just purchase these signs? Do we have to get approval from the county to put the signs on the street? No. So that should be something we should be moving forward on, just my opinion.
We have,
Oh,
we
yeah,
have
they have
designated, we have
crosswalks.
county-approved designated crosswalks already.
Mhm.
We can get those signs, and we can implement them as soon as we get them.
Right, wouldn't that make more sense right now? If it's, you're talking 2, 3, how many months, years? Are we talking?
Well,
here, Jay?
we're not years.
5 years?
This is a 2015.
Well, we haven't,
Well, since we talked about
the issue is also, we haven't added those crosswalks yet to
But we can put signs at the crosswalks we have.
the ones we have, absolutely.
You don't have the widest center.
It doesn't matter, we still put cross signs there, fine.
But actually, in the center of Pequannock Center, there is the expanded median there, and it will go quite nicely immediately right there.
Right.
It's something we should really look at, because we know from being here for many years now, 4 or 5 years, that government doesn't move that quickly.
What are you saying?
He learned something. Yeah.
Slow. Sir, did you have a question?
Yeah, Mike, you have one more question, then we gotta move on to the next presentation.
Mike Bertuna, 10 Beach Street. I love the presentation. I thought it was great. Mr. Golden and Mr. Lane, they did a great job. I wanted the crosswalk, and I think the parents, they'll have to get used to not parking on the street. And for the kids' safety, I think most parents would understand and go for it. And as far as the signs, I like Rich's idea about going forward with getting Officer Lane the signs that he wants right away. And as far as the traffic calming on the south end, I'm on Beach Street, so a lot of times I try to make the left. And I do feel that, and I don't have statistics like you, but that they are going, they're coming from a 40-mile-per-hour road onto our 35, but usually they're going 45. And I think the first 2 blocks, they haven't slowed down yet until they start hitting maybe the mini Pequannock Mall and all that. So anything that will slow down traffic, I think, is a great.
I agree. I think that choking it down right there and having that pedestrian crosswalk almost as soon as you're coming into town, with that sign saying that, and that sign could maybe even be put south of Pequannock Avenue.
Yeah, because at the dancing school, we stand there and we see it light up 40, 42, and then maybe if it was further down, the people will see that and then slow down before they get to the mini
Oh,
mall.
you're talking about the radar sign?
Oh, yeah,
The radar
yeah.
sign. We would have to see, yeah, that's possible. We can, if there's a utility pole.
Yeah,
further down.
Can we move it back the other way? Yeah, I see what he's saying.
Yeah,
Back it
because
up,
it's
back it up
fast.
to the bridge.
Right.
Yeah, because there's Riverside and the beach, and they haven't slowed down yet.
Yeah, you like put the brakes on.
I don't even know if there's a speed limit sign yet, so I don't even know if they know it's dropped down.
I will look into that tomorrow. I will look and see if we have the capability of putting bringing that sign more south on the northbound lane. Okay.
Thanks, Mike, that's a good suggestion. Any other, one quick question, do we have another presentation?
You know what,
Okay.
can I just say something real quick? For something like this, you're watching what we're spending because we have a budget, but whatever we need, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right the first time, right? So if we do need extra funding somewhere, I'm sure we can get it, right? Because
Every year, once a year.
Look, we have to suffer the carpet for one more year, but that's all I'm saying is if we're gonna do a project, especially the first phase, like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Well, that's why we just wanna do one
I
section.
absolutely agree, do it once and do it right, which is why you spend a little more time in the planning process before you actually spend the money.
Right.
And that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
So I know this has been a long time coming, and, you know, we've been saying, you know, where's the walkable communities, where's the crosswalk for a long time, so here we are. We're at the point where we're ready to move forward with it, and council has been, you know, very good in terms of providing funding over the last couple of years, and we'll be able to get through the first phase with funding we have, and depending on, you know, exactly what those costs are, maybe well into the second phase, and I think we've got some good ideas for even moving on beyond that to make things better in the future, so, yeah, I agree.
Last question, Henry, Lou. All right, I'll give you two more, and then we gotta give, we got one more presentation.
It's gonna be like
Municipal court fines, why can't some of that money from the municipal court fines be allocated towards, being that this is a function of basically the police department, you know, to get the signs put up and the road striped, why can't the funding come out
That's
of
for
the
the
municipal?
AOC to decide where the fines go. That's not I don't believe that's a municipal decision.
Yeah,
That's the court
the
decision,
municipal
where the fines-
budget
where the money
is,
goes to fines.
you know, there's revenue on one side, there's expenses on the other, and
Yeah.
council has to determine what the, you know, what the designation of the appropriations are gonna be. You can't just dedicate revenue, because you want to. You've gotta work within the budget
You
frame.
mean the fines don't go into a general fund?
They do.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then the general fund has to be appropriated by the governing body for, you know, the various functions that we have.
Exactly, so.
And we did
they
allocate money
have.
for this.
They've
We did.
allocated money
We
for this project
Phase one.
over the course of the last couple of years. So we have the funding, we have the plan, we're ready to move.
Lou?
Next question. Since this is a county road, is there no county money available for it?
This is a local initiative in terms of the walkable communities. So the county has been very clear. They've been supportive in terms of trying to accomplish our goals, but in terms of signage and striping and things that we want to accomplish locally, that's our dime.
Look at the hard time they gave us with the bridge.
Thank you. Okay, so we have another, thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add? That was great.
Thank you very much
No,
to
thank you.
Joe Golden and Sergeant Lane for their time tonight. I appreciate all of their work.
I do too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have another presentation from Freeholder Master Langell, and sorry for waiting for so long. We appreciate, you know, and he's going to go over the county budget, and we can ask him any questions we want about county roads.
Can we?
Well, I think we had some road discussion.
Your
But I have a question for you guys.
Wherever you feel comfortable.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes, Mayor and Council, and Mr. Attorney and Clerk. I'm going to give you a handout anyway.
Frank, can you speak, or you want to move?
That's right, well,
Speak now.
I printed one, Tom, if it's the presentation. Can you send us?
Yeah, but.
All right, well, once again, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for given me and the Board of Freeholders and the county, obviously, part of the county, time to come in and talk a few highlights about this year's budget. Next slide. Okay, so this is the third year in a row where we have not had a increase in taxes for the operating budget. And I just want to add that it's always, the concept of not increasing taxes is great, but if you're not delivering the services, then that becomes a real problem. But what we've managed to do with this budget and the budgets over the last couple of years is to deliver all the services around the county, and one of them being roads, and we'll talk about roads, pretty well, with a lot of integrity and a lot of quality. So once again, no increase in the operating budget for the third year. As I mentioned, the budget maintains all the services that the county residents have come to know and expect here in Morris County. We do continue to look at shared services with other municipalities, with other counties. Actually, I was on the phone with another freeholder yesterday and today about a shared service that we're talking about with their county, where they would become in our county, but and I can't disclose what that is, but it's an ongoing effort to try to either bring revenues into the county through shared services and then consolidate any way we can to be more efficient as we run. So once again, I want to point out the budget does provide all types of services for emergency assistance and the health and well-being of our citizens. What's your first name again? Carol. Carol, next slide. Okay, so the budget trends, as you can see, the total tax effort has been pretty consistent for the last several years since 2012. So we've kept that tax effort flat, and we haven't really we haven't raised taxes as a result of that. That may be hard for you all to see, but this sort of this does lay out the how your tax money is spent around the county. I mean, with all the services in the budget. And I can read some. Can you guys see that or not really? No. Okay. I'm going to tell you this slide. Okay. But you have, for instance, down here is your health and human services. That's 23% of the operating budget. You have parks is about 4% of the operating budget. Your law and public safety, where's law and public safety? It's in this pie. That's about 15% of the budget. So your two biggest parts of the operating budget are your health and human services and your law and public safety, and then there's several other areas, from education to public and private programs to office of operating functions. There's a lot of different areas of the budget. Your two biggest parts of your budget is your health and human services and your law and public safety. This is about 24%, and this public safety is about 15 to 16%. Any questions? Okay, so the budget, the total operating budget did increase this year, though we kept taxes flat. It did increase in $5.5 million in human services for mental health needs for the citizens who need those mental health needs around the county. And county pays 85% of this $5.5 million. So, but we have to put that number. So that number actually went up, but we get reimbursed 85% by the state.
but you have to put that in as the whole line item on the budget. So essentially, the county is only responsible for 85%, though the 5.5 million is part of that $12 million increase. If that all makes sense, okay? We did have an increase in debt service due to the solar program. We had a $1.3 million increase in regards to staffing. A lot of that staff was up at Morrisview, I believe it was 17 people. We actually had to add, and we didn't actually increase that staff. We had a outsourcing model. And according to IRS regulation, you can only go a certain amount of time before you have to take those people and make them or transition them into full-time employees. And we couldn't continue that. And actually, our auditor, Tavache, advised the county that we had to transition those people into employees. And based on the needs of the 283 beds that we do have up at Morrisview, they were nurses. Okay, so we needed nurses and we have to deliver service. We had increases for some of the labor unions, $1.2 million in salary increases. Group insurance went up a little bit, and had an increase in college and some other union service programs.
I have a question, Tom.
One thing this budget will continue, has done since I've been a freeholder, and will continue to do is ensure the health services for those in need. So none of us hope that we will need these type of services, but if we do, you want to make sure that those services are in place in case you need them. We want to ensure that we continue to do that.
Tom, I have a question about the sheriff's department. It says increased enhanced courthouse security measures. There's
Yes.
something new besides, I mean, since September 11th, there was a lot, and now there's even more?
Okay, so I always felt as, when I first showed up in 2011, that we could have did more with security, both in the administration building and the courthouse. The administration building is connected to the courthouse, so it's all, the sheriff really is responsible for both
Right.
buildings. Okay. And we, anybody can come into the garage, or anybody can walk into any floor of the building, somewhat unchecked, somewhat, not totally, somewhat. So we had shored up the security of the buildings with additional equipment, with the sheriff provided some additional assistance.
So it was personnel and equipment, not just personnel, or it was
yeah, well,
both?
this is salary, but there wasn't equipment.
Okay.
That's in capital.
Do you share any of the sheriff's department out to any towns and be reimbursed for any of that?
That's something that we would have to talk to the sheriff, okay? And
Okay.
that's up to him and how he utilizes his budget to do that. But I think if, I've seen certain instances, I guess the sheriff will work with the local police departments, whether it's traffic or whatever.
Or whatever it is, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. This is some of the areas where we had no increases. We actually had a reduction in pension costs. We've restructured our bonds that we carry as far as our debt load, which is, we've been reducing our debt load. So we've actually refinanced more of our debt, okay, bring that debt service line item down as far as the costs. And, we've been continually reducing the number of employees, and since 2012, we have 48 less employees than we did in 2012. And we've done some consolidation of IT functions as well. So, because, we're doing a lot of IT guarantee type of initiatives in the county, and, you know, as we continue to do that, we're actually reducing, consolidating, and we are reducing costs as we do it.
You know, one question, are you doing anything more about this illegal hacking that's going on all over the country?
You're talking about cybersecurity, and actually I'm the IT liaison, I'm the IT business myself, so I do full time. Though I love being a freeholder, it doesn't make a difference. But I was talking with the chief information officer today, and he is, we've got an application or cloud service that they're looking at right now for cybersecurity. And, you know, him and I talk about it more, but we are taking steps continually to, you know, because we have a lot of information, there's a lot of taxpayer information. So we've got to make sure that that information is protected, and, you know, I mean, whether it be Target or Home Depot or any of those, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, which, you know, I was one of them that had gotten hacked. We want to make sure we do our best that that doesn't happen in Morris County. And I don't think there's a guarantee, nothing's 100%, but you know, you have these organizations all over the world that, you know, they go to work every morning to hack into, you know, whether it be the federal systems or state systems, you know, it's crazy.
There's nothing foolproof, so I just wondered if you were going in that direction anymore.
Yeah, we are. Actually, going back a few years ago, we hired a chief information officer. When I got to the county in 2011, we didn't have a chief information officer. You know, we have 1,800 employees. You know, we're running a business, and you know, since then we've been able to do a lot more in IT. And, you know, I take IT for granted, but that's really how we deliver a lot of services today. You know, we're doing a good job at it, but we're taking care of the cybersecurity.
Thank you.
Let's see. Investments in education. So the budget, you know, we continually invest in Tarrant County. Investment in the Park Commission, you know, that number's been pretty consistent year after year since I've been on the board. Investment in the county college, that number has been pretty consistent. VOTEC, which is, you know, one of the best VOTECs in the country. I think it was in top 50 last year, I believe it was this year. You know, continue to invest in education into our parks. So. I mentioned about human services being a key ingredient to this budget. It's the biggest part of the budget. You know, 500,000 meals on wheels that we deliver to our seniors. Some of these meals are served at senior centers. Some are delivered to homes, you know, to the seniors' homes because they, you know, they're in shape and they can't walk or they can't leave their house. And you'd be surprised at people who come into the freeholder meeting room and complain that we're doing this. And, you know, look, are there some people who may not, and we may not qualify? There are some, and we try to safeguard against that. But, you know, the majority of people on this these are people who've paid into the system all these years, and now they're in need, and, you know, we have to...
And they pay a small portion too, don't they?
What's that?
Don't the people pay a small portion for the meal? I think it's like $2 or $3
Yeah, it's actually a contribution.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, based
Voluntary.
based on the program and the mandates of the federal government and all that stuff.
Okay.
That they do actually, you know, this contribution bucket, and they can afford to contribute that. And they did. Once again, Mars View, we got 283 beds, and we continue to provide that service. And all the areas, the veterans, which is a very busy audience these days, aging, disability, mental health, substance abuse, we have transportation services, you know, for seniors and those
Are you expanding the program for veterans?
maps and things like that, but, if there's a need, you know, the freeholder board will always take a look at, you know.
You should look at that program, it's extremely limited. It's very difficult to get from here to Lyons, for example. They only travel at certain hours.
Talking about Lions to Veterans Hospital?
Lions Veterans Hospital, yes. They only travel certain hours, and they won't go back after a certain time, and it's very limited. Maps is not very friendly. Access Link is another one that provides the service, and I know they're funded somewhat by the VA, but it's very limited.
All right, well, I'd like to give you a name, I'll give you my card, and, you know, you got any information that you can help us with, you know. And we don't find those things out unless, you know, the citizens tell us, you know, what the issues are, and, you know, then we'll try to act on those issues as fast as we can. Last week I was at a meeting up in Rockaway, and, you know, I had a couple citizens come up to me and talk to me about a crosswalk near Senior Center. And they talked about the hazard because there's no crosswalk there. We're walking across the street, it was on a county road, and you know, I wasn't aware of it. But you know, what I then did actually that night I sent a text to Department of Planning and Engineering, being O'Leary, who's that director, and I asked to get somebody up there to take a look at it, and let's see how we can you know, address the issue and get it resolved. You know, good crosswalk in with the sergeant was talking about tonight, right? You guys are doing here. So it's always good to hear back from the citizens, and this way we can respond and, you know, do the best we can and try to, you know, resolve it. You know, if we can. Next slide. Okay. The budget, the operating budget, you know, annually, ongoing. These are the services that, you know, I'm not gonna read everyone out to you, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory what they are unless somebody has a question, but these are the services that we do provide, you know, for public safety services for the citizens. And, you know, a lot of this may be taken for granted, but, you know, it's the sheriff, prosecutor, public safety, so emergency management. We serve 23 municipalities today. We are talking to a few more right now. You know, Juvenile Detention Center, you know, I mentioned shared services before. We have four counties that participate in our facility, and we receive revenue from those counties for those for that service. You know, medical examiner's office, we actually expanded this year, where we have another county that's participating now. And we apply that service back, and you know, county weighs and measures. Okay. Our debt has been in pretty good shape year after year, and we've been basically holding the line on our debt. Okay, but what's going on? Our debt payment is actually going, we're on a $64 million debt reduction plan. So last year, I think we were at $260 million, I believe this year. Our debt line item, our total debt for the county is somewhere around 220 something million, or no, 230 million, somewhere around there. Don't hold me to those numbers, but we're taking a good amount of debt off year after year. Next year we'll reduce more of our total debt line item. Okay, so this is what we, this is really more around the capital budget as far as what we do for, you know, improvements around the county, i.e. your roads. So this year, you know, we're looking at $26 million capital budget. It costs us $300,000 per mile to pave a road in Morris County. So this year, I believe we're doing 36 miles, or 35 miles of roads this year. Last year we did, I think, 33. And because of the harsh winters, before last year, we used to average over the last 5 years prior to that, about 17 to 18 miles of roads per year. So we've actually, you know, almost doubled the amount of road, I mean, actually, we did double the amount of roads that were paved, and we still managed to, you know, hold the line on how much we actually bond. But as we're doing that, we're reducing the old, we're making more bond payments, refinancing our existing bonds, and we're driving down our actual debt while we're delivering those services. So, everybody's different. Next one here. And, you know, we're in very good shape in regards to our fund balance. We're somewhere around close to $60 million in our surplus. I'd like to find a way to give some of that money back to the citizens somehow. Okay. And you know, we've reduced this budget, so we have good fund balance, very conservative budgeting process. I'm on the budget committee, so we meet on a regular basis to go over the budget, not just for the year that we're budgeting for next year, but we look at a multi-year budgeting process. Okay. And let's see. And I'm at Medicare. We're managing our Medicare revenue. Some of these revenues are going down. You know, whether it be from the federal government to the state. So even though some of that's going down, we're still managing to still deliver zero, still deliver the services, still keep a close to a $60 million fund balance, which was I believe is a historic high. Okay, so so that kind of gives some highlights of the budget. So,
No,
any
thank you.
Questions, thoughts, concerns?
I have a curiosity question. When did the county get in such debt? Was there a time period, or was it just over a long period of time? When you look back, could you see a period of time when they went in huge debt?
You know, the county over the years has, bonded for, for instance, and by the way, we don't have any big projects coming up, okay? But if you look back, I got on the board in 2011. Prior to that, I was the freeholder director, as you all know, last year and the year before. During that term, we cut the ribbon on the communications center up in the whole emergency management center up on the hill there.
Right.
Okay. That was the last big project that got delivered. Okay. That broke ground when I was freehold. Okay. When I started. And then there were other projects over the years. You had the jail. Okay. You had a lot of improvements in Marsview. You had there was just a lot of big improvements, which was bonded, which created debt. Okay, it's sort of like, somebody.
Well, I imagine the jail was a big one.
Make
Yeah.
improvements to their house, or to make an addition, or whatever. Okay, well that's what the county did. But we're on starting last year, a $64 million debt reduction plan, and we've taken our debt down, as I mentioned previously, from 250 or 60 down to about 230 some odd, whatever the numbers are exactly. And next year you'll probably see another 10 to 15 million reduction. So if we stay on track and there's no big emergencies that pop up,
Right.
Our goal is to continually reduce debt, still maintain the infrastructure, still deliver the services, and still try to.
No, you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Louise?
I know it's impossible to mention all the services that the county provides, but I just wanted to add Morris County Community Development and Weatherization, which enables seniors in particular to stay in their homes, helps them with necessary repairs, and it's very much appreciated.
Okay, well, thank you, Louise. And if there's ever a question or concern about a program that it's not working, or it's not working the right way, call the freeholder office and we'll get you the right people. All right?
I do have a question on that, Louise, too, and Tom. How often do you look at that to set the limit for the amount of money that someone could make? Because recently I was talking to some people for that plan for the sewer project, people who can't afford. And they said they're just like 1,000 or two over top of that limit where they wouldn't qualify. Is there's, I guess there's no room for that, or when's the last time that was looked at?
Yeah, I'd have to direct it for Health and Human Services, Jane Carpentier.
If you could check and see when the last time that was evaluated
I'm
and
just
looked
gonna have
at.
to reach out to you, Kathy.
That's fine.
Okay, this
Yeah.
way, you talk to her directly, and, you know, then she'll get
Right.
back to me, and basically tell me what you guys
Right.
discussed, and, you know, is it resolved, or...
Because the area out here in the village where it floods frequently, and now we're putting out sewers there, and these people have been very devastated. And now we're coming along with a sewer hookup, and there's some people who just, you know,
Can't afford it.
can't afford it. And then I talked to them and I gave them information.
What are they
to
saying
send.
the cost is?
What is it gonna be, about a couple of,
The physical connection's probably in the neighborhood of 3, 4, 5,000, and then the assessment is gonna be in the neighborhood of 12 or 15,000 over 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
Are they, financing that to them in any way?
well, the assessment will, the township will finance over 10 years, so it would be, 12 or 1,500 a year. But the connection itself is a private contractor that they're gonna have to, hire themselves to close their septic and make the physical connection.
All right, so this comes under Dean O'Leary, this is under engineering and planning and everything else, not sorry. So I'll have Dean call you on that.
okay, thank you, because there's that program where they can get assistance for.
Well,
for
then
this.
it's maybe both of them, so.
Yeah,
I'll
but
go.
I think the limit's 35,000, if I'm correct, if I remember.
You say the income limit?
The income limit. But I think these people I met with like 37, and they're still devastated, and it's like, now what?
Well, I mean, the way I would look at the program is, if you jump over that limit, maybe you start to prorate that down.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I would look at it. Maybe that's the way.
I'd just be interested.
But then again, it's from a budgeting standpoint, I guess it, how do you come up with a scale that, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Oh, we have a little bit of time, because they don't have to hook up right away. And I'd like to be able just to see what's available so that people know about it. Okay, thanks. All right, thank you for coming. Thank you for sitting through our other presentation.
That was great.
It was the county.
Yeah, I heard we said yes to everything.
But no money.
Yeah, no money. Okay. Everybody want to stand up, stretch, sit down? We're good?
This is like
Okay.
the old days.
Reports from volunteers. We can multitask. Come on up.
Hi, Louise Marchese, Recording Secretary of EDC. I want to first start with the new businesses, because we are getting some new businesses in town. Priceless Pets, which is a dog grooming place in Pompton Plains, 616, they had planned on having a grand opening this weekend. Unfortunately, they had to cancel, so that will be coming up. I also spoke with the owner of Happy Hound, and that's a doggy daycare, and he'll be contacting me also about a grand opening. That's located at 721 Route 23 South. And they're in there. They're already operating. Dr. Marino has moved he's a dentist in town. He has moved just a little further down from where he was. He's now at 679 Turnpike, across the street from the Lutheran Church. And he will also be contacting me about a grand opening. Coming into town will be a new hair salon, Leia's Salon, and they'll be located at 681 Route 23 South. Also will contact once they move in about a grand opening. And the last one I have is called Girl Chalk, and that's going to be located on the Pequannock end of town, the 200 Turnpike. In fact, it'll be right next door to the consignment store, so I think that might be a good marriage between the two, because this is going to be vintage furniture. And again, they're not in there yet, but they'll contact me when ready. As far as what's been going on the committee, last meeting we had, Jeff spoke to us about, we had talked about the bid program, which is a program Pompton Lakes has right now where businesses would contribute, and we would, based on that, they'd be able to make various improvements within the town. for the retail businesses. This is a little different. This is called SID, and this would be specifically for a certain section of town. So that's a little different than the bid program. Also, we discussed as a group about digital signs, possibly going in at churches, schools, firehouses, and it'd be a good way for us to gain information. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Any other volunteers? No? Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, come to the microphone, and provide your name and address for the record. Paul?
Paul Habman, the Friends of Martin Berry House, currently residing in Oak Ridge, although I grew up here. Have some news to report over the last couple of weeks. We're not really the Friends of Martin Berry House now. As of 2 weeks ago, we are officially incorporated with the state as the Pequannock Township Historic Society. To do so, we kind of stepped into the shoes of the old Pequannock Township Historic Whole Society. It was faster and easier and less expensive and all of those nice things. But that lets us move forward now. We have a bank account. We have a set of proposed bylaws that we'll be discussing at our next regular meeting. We're filing for 501c3 status, and we're beginning to talk about our very first membership drive. So in the words of the immortal Elvis, we're ready to rock and roll here. We also have fundraising plans in progress. We'd also have plans in discussion to participate in all the good stuff going on this year. Memorial Day, the street fair, the PV Park picnic, and the hoedown. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and we just wanted to give you this update on our affairs.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road. It's funny that tonight we discussed walkable communities because something happened over the past 2 weeks that has disturbed me. I spoke about it once before. On my end of town, there is a certain landlord. His business is located between the railroad tracks and Old Orchard Village. I believe he owns that land near the tracks. He's constantly putting out cars for sale. It could be one, it could be 3 at a time. I mentioned this once before and I was told it's private property, nothing can be done. Well, like the old adage goes, you give them an inch, they're going to take a yard. On Thursday, April the 16th, I noticed I passed through in the morning, I passed through again in the evening. He now has had a motorcycle outside on the sidewalk with a for sale sign. There's no way anybody could have walked with maybe like this they could have walked, but not with a baby carriage. They would have never got through. This happened twice, 2 Thursdays in a row. How could it be that nobody noticed it but me? Because they managed to be there the entire day and night for 2 days. The first time it happened, I didn't have a chance to call the police department. I was busy doing things. But last Thursday, I had the opportunity. I called and I left a message for traffic. Obviously, I believe they took care of it because as of today, he now moved it to the side of his building. He has like a driveway. And he has it there, so it's out of the way of the sidewalk. The point is, what makes him think that he can do that? Number one. Number two, I was just watching, I watch the Board of Ed meetings each week, and a resident said, we cut these music programs, you're depreciating our houses, the value of our houses are going down. Well, you know what? This is cheapening the Pequannock end of town, because you only see it on our end of town. And I know I was told that private property, but you know something? As far as I know, the ordinance is you can only have one garage sale a year, and you have to have a permit. Why is he allowed to put a car out anytime he wants, on Sundays, Christmas, whenever? If we don't have an ordinance, you know what? Maybe we should think of getting one, okay?
Well, I'm glad you called, and I'm glad it was taken care of.
Yeah, and I left a message for traffic, which I believe was the gentleman that was here. I know it was traffic. Okay, moving on. We are at our 275th anniversary, as everyone knows about. So this past Saturday, I decided to go into the library and get out the Salvini book and do a little reading up on Pequannock Township. They just have 2 copies. This is the better of the 2 copies. It's totally taped. it's falling apart,
Mhm.
and it's sad.
I might have a better copy.
It's sad, because I would like to see this on display, being the 275th anniversary, but the librarian was able to show me this, and this I took out of the library too, and it's funny, I want to share it with you, it's beautiful, this is a new book, it's from 2013. The first business that there's a picture of is what was the Berry store from 1818, it's the first business, and the first house is the Berry house.
Oh, how
that is
nice,
shown.
yeah.
I just thought I'd share that with you. But anyway, it
Thank
would
you.
be nice if they put up a display, you know.
I think the Ed Engelbart downstairs has done one in Town Hall.
Don't think I'm not gonna run this past him when I see him at the meeting next week.
Well, I think there is a display there supposedly downstairs.
He just finished it.
Yes,
Did he finish
he
it?
talked about that at the last Berry meeting. Yes, that he was gonna do that. Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Any other volunteers? Okay. Oh, public comment, yes, excuse me, yes. Thank you for the correction. Next on the agenda, public hearing of the 2015 municipal budget. Mr. Holberg.
Okay, so,
Everybody awake?
we introduced our budget, and tonight is the advertised public hearing, where the public gets an opportunity to make comments. Before I start in on my 5 or 10 minute spiel, I just want to thank and welcome Valerie Dolan from our auditor firm, who provided an immense amount of assistance in putting our formal budget document together. So she's here for you to grill. So the budget that was introduced, and I'm just going through the first page. The presentation is broken down into a couple different sections. One about our tax rate, one about revenues, one about expenses, and then there's a couple pages that
Does everybody
summarize
have a copy? There
our
are copies there.
utilities. There are copies up here on
If anybody wants a copy.
the table. The overall goal of our budget is to maintain or improve municipal service levels, meet our statutory requirements, including required payments to the state pension system and minimum requirement payment to the public library, maintain a stable tax rate that increases at a level consistent with inflationary trends, and I think over the course of the past 4 years, we've met that. Last year, there was no increase in our municipal tax levy. This year, while it's a 3% increase, when you look at the tax rate over the 4-year period, it's really been at less than the 2% that the state has imposed as a statutory limit. Address our capital infrastructure improvements, including road and drainage improvements, with an emphasis on roadway resurfacing, which was a discussion of council in our capital session. Public safety equipment, adequate funding to replace vehicles and equipment in a timely manner. We'll continue to pay down outstanding municipal debt sooner than is required in order to reduce interest costs and eliminate all general obligation debt by 2019, which is the debt reduction plan that we've been working on since 1995. These goals have been met by the use of grant funding to support ongoing programs in the areas of senior disabled transportation, which is our Dial-A-Ride program, body armor replacement and impaired driving enforcement, which includes both drunk driving and distracted driving, and recycling and litter control programs. We use revenues from recycling tonnage and clean communities to offset our solid waste collection, as well as clean communities initiatives. Continued implementation of a comprehensive capital plan, which reduces the municipality's general obligation debt and provides full funding for repetitive and replacement capital purchases, which is the plan we've been working on for quite a number of years now. And the use of interlocal and shared services to reduce the per capita cost of providing services and provide the most efficient service for residents. We've added both snow plowing and field maintenance to those shared services in recent years without significantly increasing our costs, but now we're generating revenue. Flipping over to the next page, this is an exhibit that's produced by a colleague of mine, and I think it shows us in a very good light. It shows tax burden by both total per unit, which is basically per household, and tax per person. Pequannock Township, out of 39 municipalities in Morris County, is number 6 in both of these. And if you look at some comparable communities, on the per unit side, both Lincoln Park, which is obviously a neighboring town, and Morristown, which is our county seat, are in the bottom third in per unit, but they are in the top third in per person. So I think it's significant that we're near the bottom on both of those measures. We provide a cute little pie chart in terms of overall revenues. Total budget has increased by 2%, or $333,000, and the vast majority of that on the revenue side is property taxes. Revenues are largely stable or flat. Distribution of property taxes. When we talk about total tax levy, taxes are made up of municipal, county, and school board, and this clearly shows that the schools receive the lion's share of municipal property tax. Pequannock Township local municipal services are responsible for about 1/4 of the total tax bill. And then we break it down by function: local government, school district, county, open space, and library. And while the school and township don't change much, it does kind of show that the library is receiving 1.6% of the total share, which, while it shows up in our local municipal tax rate, is not funding that we have direct control over. On the expense side, just a couple of the highlights. Municipal budget of $17.3 million is $41,000 below the state 2% tax levy cap, and $660,000 under the adjusted appropriation cap. So we are not only compliant, but significantly under the statutory caps. The 2015 municipal budget has increased by a total of $333,000, or about 2%. The primary factors in that $333,000 are an increase of $106,000, or almost 10%, in pension costs. And while that is a large increase, pension costs as a result of Chapter 78 and other statutory modifications have been fairly stable over the last 5 years. They actually reduced from 2013 to 2014, and our 2015 share is actually comparable to what it was 2 years ago. $153,000 increase in police salary and wages, which is a 4% increase. This is after 2014, when there was almost zero increase as a result of retirement. And the vast majority of the $150,000 increase, while it's a large number in terms of overall percentage increase, we have a large number of young new officers who are moving up steps. And that's more than half of the $150,000 increase. Group health insurance is increasing by $48,000, or 3.5%. And while $48,000 is also a large number by itself, the 3.5% represents an increase that compares very favorably to healthcare costs overall, both by other local governments and by private employers. Healthcare costs, healthcare inflation has been on the order of 6, 7, and 8% for the last several years. Construction code expenses are increasing by $21,000, or 10%, to accommodate an increased number of inspection hours. Each of the past 2 years, we've seen a very high number of permits issued. We expect that to continue this year. The increase in expense is offset by an increase in the amount of permit revenue that we're anticipating, also by $25,000. So while it's an increase in the budget, it's offset by revenue. While decreasing slightly in 2015, appropriations for debt service and capital continue to support the pay down of our existing debt and a strong pay-as-you-go capital program. And except for those items listed above, all of our operating expenses remain very stable for 2015, as they have been for the last 4 years. A couple more pie charts and a detail by department operating area of the last couple of years' expenses, 2014 budget. And then there are 2 pages indicating the overall utilities. We've got water, sewer, solid waste, and recreation utilities, which are all stable and self-supporting. Of them in significant financial distress, which is good. The one thing I will point out within the sewer utility, which that budget increased pretty significantly. In the year of Hurricane Irene, 2011, which is the year that we intended to levy assessments for the Greenwood, Pequannock Avenue area sewer project, and we determined not to as a result of multiple floods. That resulted in a deficit in our sewer assessment fund because we were relying on the revenue from the levied assessments to offset our budget. That all netted out fine because we levied the assessments the following year, which generated sufficient revenue. But on our books, we showed a $433,000 deficit in sewer assessments. I had done essentially a financial entry 2 years ago to take the revenue that we'd received and offset the deficit. And when we were in state budget review last year, the state said, no, you can't just write that off. You have to go through a budget process. You have to anticipate the money into your budget, show the appropriation on the other side of the budget, and pay it off. And because we were so far into the budget process last year, I asked that we be able to do that in 2015, and they agreed. So that's the bulk of the increase. The sewer budget in 2014 was $3.2 million, and in 2015 it's $3.9 million, and that $433,000 is really the driving cost there. That will go away after this year. It is really a non-issue because the revenue was generated, it was billed, it's sitting in our account, so it will all net out through the budget process.
It just has to flow through.
I just want to point that out because it is a pretty significant increase in number, and it's really just, damn accountants. And then the last page, it shows by functional area the increase from 2014 to 2015 that the average home assessed at $377,000 would pay. And the total increase in taxes for that average home is $55.62. The total amount for municipal services, which includes everything we do, police, fire, EMS, plowing of roads, paving of roads, health services, making sure your restaurants are safe, everything we do locally, the total cost of the average homeowner is $1,895 in 2015, which is less than most people pay for cable TV.
Right. Now you can take a breath. Thank you, Dave.
And Mayor, just before you formally open the public hearing, just for the record, it should be noted that the budget as presented was introduced at the March 24th meeting by the affirmative vote of the majority of the full membership of the governing body. Copy has been filed with the Division of Local Government Services. A summary of the budget and its annexes has been published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper as required, with a notice attached with a notice indicating that the full budget was available for public review and that copies were available for public inspection upon request in the office of the clerk.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, right? Yeah. Are there any comments from council? Before I open up? Yeah.
Summarizing it.
We spent many meetings and hours, and I thought it was a great job too. Okay, if anyone in the audience has questions or comments on the budget, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record.
Don't stand deep now.
Okay, all right.
After all that.
Oh, look, ask one. Come on, ask one question.
It's a very simple question. Maybe I missed something, but I'm looking at Louis Bear, 11 Copley Court. I'm looking at page 3 where it talks about interlocal services and it mentions Dial-A-Ride, very dear to my heart. But it only shows 4 towns. What about the 5th town?
We don't bill ourselves.
Oh, this is...
It's 5-town Dial-A-Ride.
Right.
And there are 5 cooperating communities. Pequannock Township is the lead agency.
Right.
So we divvy up the share of cost based on population, which is, defined in the cooperating agreement.
Yeah.
And we bill the 4 other towns. Pequannock's net share just goes to the tax levy. We don't bill ourselves for it, so it doesn't show up as a revenue other than, the net amount going to taxes.
Oh, I see. Is it to the general fund or something? Is that how it gets paid?
It's all in the general fund.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I was
One
just
big
curious.
pot of money.
I was just curious what that amount was, because it just didn't list it here. It shows if, what the contribution is from the other towns. What is our contribution?
Copy the full.
I have that number here.
Usually you know these numbers right off the top.
Usually.
You thought we forgot
I'm
ourselves.
losing my edge here. He caught me off guard.
Should I sit down again?
No, you stay right there. We want you to get your answer.
Jeez. Is it time up already?
Pequannock share, Pequannock, by population, we are the largest community within the 5 towns. Our share is approximately $115,000. I can give you the more exact number tomorrow because I have a spreadsheet that shows it, I just don't.
No, that's close enough. I was just curious. And the other towns are paying, what numbers are shown there, but,
Yes.
okay.
And then we also receive grant funding through the MAPS program from Morris County to do the disabled transportation.
We get funding besides the vehicles?
Yes, we get operational funding from MAPS.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? We good? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt?
We're not about to-
No, to close the public hearing on 2015 multiple. Second? Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff.
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield.
Yes. Next on the agenda, ordinances. There's no ordinance for introduction this evening. And next on the agenda, items for resolutions. Mr. Delaney.
Yes, the following resolutions are listed for consideration by the council this evening. Resolution R 2015-89, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. Resolution 90, authorizing the reinstatement of a special sewer assessment payment plan. Resolution 91, authorizing the discharge of an affordable housing mortgage, program mortgage. Resolution 92, approving the designated special event permit applications. Resolution 93, approving the transfer of the alcoholic beverage control plenary retail consumption license currently issued to Gillies Incorporated, transferring to 710 Turnpike Carbone Restaurant LLC. Resolution 94, awarding a contract for one new positive displacement vacuum trailer to Jack Doheny Companies, Inc. for the contract amount of $153,547 in accordance with the bid specifications. Resolution 95, authorizing the filing of tax appeals and counterclaims and authorizing the tax assessor and township attorney to represent the township in connection with these appeals. Resolution 96, approving the payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the April 23rd, 2015 bill list.
Thank you. Are there any comments on these resolutions from council?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-89 through 2015-96.
I'll second. We did that last time. Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield.
Yes. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. The first one is inviting dignitaries to various events. I put this on there. This came from discussion between Melissa and I regarding something that came out of the flood committee. So if you want to maybe go into that a little bit, Melissa?
Yeah, at the last flood committee meeting, there was some discussion about possibly inviting Governor Christie to a town hall meeting. Then we got into discussions, we thought the timing was right, that type of thing. We also talked about the 275th anniversary, and thought it would be a great way to bring, not just the governor, but dignitaries from all over who we'd like to bring into town to various events, which we've invited like in the past to the street fair and whatnot, but with the 275th, I think it's just a good time. And as far as possibly having a town hall meeting, I just think he'd really welcome it. And being, a town like ours, primarily a Republican town, he's doing town hall meetings right now in our areas. It's very simple to get on the agenda and get a response, and I just think the timing's right. So I just wanted to have some discussion about that.
And the committee felt that was something that they pretty
Yeah,
much in favor
I mean,
of?
obviously we'd have to, see what everybody else thought and, have good questions for him and things like that. See if it's something we want to move forward with. But we don't want to just make that decision without talking with everybody
Right.
and getting input.
So we'll just go down the line. Dave, what do you-
Any thought?
I think it'd be a great idea. I also think that, we talked about inviting him to the Memorial Day Parade.
Yeah.
And that it is our 275th anniversary.
How I feel. I think it's a great idea.
We need a speaker.
It's a good idea. You might as well invite Obama while you're at it too. Don't leave anybody out. No, I'm not kidding.
Well, I really don't think that he'll make it to the parade. I did have a short conversation with one of the representatives. No.
He might not make it to that.
You want to
because
make it
there's so
to
many-
that, but as far as the town hall, I think that's something that we should think about. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or think about it, because it does have some logistics with the town and security and things like that. And,
Right.
it's,
And you want to craft a good, we have experience with this. We have one of the people on the flood committee is in the State House a couple of times a week, and she knows the procedures. She's set these types of things up with the governor's office before. She'll help us if we need guidance, and as they will too, with as far as how you structure it. And
well, do you see most of the questions pertaining to flooding or other
no, that's
things?
not. I don't think that's what we want. I think we want across. We don't want
Open
we don't
discussion on what anybody
we don't want to
wants
have
Well,
the
these
poor guy
things.
come here and then just throw flooding at him. We need to be able to have well-rounded questions.
Well, we may not even
and-
get to have the questions
Right.
because they pick the people. I've been to a town hall meeting. I think you have been too.
Yes, yes.
You may not necessarily even get called upon.
Right.
There's a certain amount of group that
Of course.
follow him, and they
Right.
have to be prepared
Yeah.
for something like that. It's not always all
I think it
20
would be.
people. It's many people.
I think it would be good as a town, whether it's the council or input from the other committees, to maybe have some good questions drafted.
Do we think we have a venue day?
I mean, yeah,
The high
whether we could do it at the high school or.
Auditorium?
Well, if you all think so, I mean, I can reach out and I have the contact.
No, because they might.
I think it's going to be positive, honestly.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think it would be positive. I think the timing is right.
You might say it didn't, but they can park, that's right next door.
Yeah, but that was a couple of years ago.
All right, if that's the will of the council. Okay, all right, I don't have any issue with that. Okay, and what about Lou? Do you feel like anything about inviting him? The parade, I think it's late, but I will ask, because he may send a representative if it's not him.
That would be fine.
You would think that would be fine?
Yes, that'd be great.
I think we should also invite, like, the freeholders, the congressmen.
Oh,
like,
definitely, yeah.
everyone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see who comes.
But we have to remember that at the end of the parade, not many people stay.
Well, that's the reason again.
You know,
Maybe
no,
they
there's
would
a
for
very
this.
small group that
Yeah,
stays.
I know.
I mean, it's very hot. The veterans, that's who we're honoring. We're honoring the dead. It doesn't matter. They don't feel the heat. But but they're there, and to make them stand there any longer, it was really, it's just the truth. But to make anybody stand there any longer than they have to is, so you want to be careful. I want to invite 5 dignitaries, and there's 50 people standing there at tops. So just remember that before we invite a whole slew of people.
Make a march down the street, then I'll see a lot of people.
Yeah, if this makes the press, I mean, there's gonna be a big crowd out there Memorial Day. Why bet?
Dave, do you have a comment?
If
Look like you want to say
there'll be
something.
even some more people.
If we can get commitments, you know, in celebration of the 275th, if we can get commitments from, you know, a number of dignitaries, you know, Congressman Freeland-Heisen,
Exactly.
you know, our representatives from the 40th District, Governor's representative, you know, we can work with the parade committee to put them, you know, front and center in terms of marching. I mean, the council normally is one of the first groups, but if you're gonna have,
Oh, yeah, of
you know,
course.
that level of dignitary, you know, I think you would want them.
Well, maybe they can ride. We'll talk about, we'll walk behind the cars. First, all right, we'll craft something, we'll invite, if you want, we'll invite, you know, everybody equally.
And if you've got the commitments, it's something that could be advertised and done in conjunction with the Legion and VFW, you know, as part of their program.
No, it's
Yeah.
not the month.
No,
it's very
you'd
close.
have to work pretty quickly, but.
Yeah, you have to get your letters and emails and communication out right away.
Well,
Um,
for Governor Christie, I have the lady's text. I mean, she texted me,
Yeah,
I'll text
that's
her.
easy.
It's not a big,
getting
that's
on,
easy,
yeah.
that's easy.
But
you
as
know,
far as
the other
inviting
ones.
all these people to the parade and stuff.
Okay, well, we'll do our best.
Mhm.
We'll do our best. We'll, you know, whatever, you know, whatever.
275th may be a better situation too, because it's kind of confined, and you're not, you know, you're gonna be there anyway, so, you know, they could walk around with the crowd and press palms and.
So you don't have a keynote speaker yet this year for like you do?
I'm working on one, but, you know, it's not a
Okay.
governor.
Okay. All right, and then the other one is sponsorship for the banners. Dave, I guess you've been talking to the chamber?
Yeah, I've been talking to Randy Chamber, who's involved with both the chamber and economic development. I think we distributed via email the proposed banners. I just wanted, before I approved it, and I'll tell you what my concerns are. You know, these are banners on, you know, municipal facilities that are gonna essentially have advertising on them. You know, under a strict interpretation of our sign ordinance, these would be prohibited. We don't allow that type of sign. And you know, the 275th is something that only comes along once every 275 years or so. So I think given the context, it's fine. I think it's a policy thing that you guys need to provide the okay for before we move forward with it. So,
Well, Randy did agree to solicit all the businesses equally,
he did,
correct?
absolutely.
Correct.
So it's not just chamber members, it's all businesses he's gonna solicit.
Yeah, there'll be a whole.
Now, who decide, if all this is yes, who's going to hang them?
We will.
We will hang them.
Pequannock Township will hang them, and
That's better.
I'm not sure where that mix in communication came up. Somewhere along the way, Randy was under the impression that we didn't want to or wouldn't, and that's not the case. We will.
Okay.
There are poles, we installed the hardware, and I'd rather have, you know, my guys.
It's safer.
Yeah.
Now, the banner across the street, we will purchase?
The 275th?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, okay. And the one on each end?
Whatever the committee decides. I serve at the pleasure. Tell me what you want.
Okay. No, I just wanna know what the agreement was, cause a lot, you know.
And Randy and I, we didn't even discuss those banners. I know that Ed's working on that.
Uh-huh.
So,
Ed's not working on that really. Ed is working on a banner for the parade, I think. It's different than the banners that across the street. I will talk to Ed and get that straightened out. Okay. So everybody's good with it? They saw the proofs?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. So, you said Ed's working on which banner is he working on? The
I think he's
200?
working something for the parade, for the historic
Right,
commission.
and the one you're talking about when you say across the
The ones like
turnpike?
you see across, yeah.
Oh, for the 275th?
Right.
Okay, all right.
They're
Yeah.
two different things.
Yeah.
It's the
The only-
parade that Ed's working on.
Right.
Yeah, Ed's working on the parade.
And the only thing I wanted to add that was discussed at the EDC meeting was, the whole committee thought the proof looked great. And just keep in mind, you know, like Dave mentioned, 275th, it only comes around once every 275 years. So to make this exception, I think is good. And we keep saying we're a town that supports our businesses. We want people to shop locally. We want, you know, all you know, this
good feel thing. So the businesses are willing to pay for the banners, and they get their advertisement on the back.
Right.
And he's going to solicit every business in town, not just chamber members, not just people that are in, you know, a tax reward program.
We should make it clear, the exception is for the
Right.
anniversary.
Exactly.
How long are they gonna be up for? A year,
Probably
2
till,
years?
no, I would say till like October,
No.
through the,
Yeah.
through the hoedown, through the fall.
Okay, well, that's
Taking
what
the-
we need to decide, how long are they?
So I think it's great. Now, how many poles are there available?
I think there's 60.
But there are
61.
61 poles, only half of them have hanging harness.
Right.
There are 32 spaces available for banners. In the event that we have more than 32 businesses interested, we're gonna have to go to some type of lottery, you know, blind lottery.
And buy hardware.
And location is also, you know, if it becomes an issue, it's gonna have to be by lottery. Or some type of random selection method. Yes. So, yeah, just so that everyone's clear that we're being, you know, fair and open for this. I don't want there to be any
Okay.
ill will as a result of trying to do something nice.
I think the businesses realize that.
Yeah.
Every business is gonna wanna have it in front of their business, but it's not gonna
It's not gonna
happen.
work. And they have to have artwork that's camera ready for this, and if they don't have artwork that has their logos and stuff, it's gonna be some people might not be able to get this together in time.
Right, we can't have one business by every single sign.
Wow.
Just make sure.
And the only thing we'll make
Yeah, one
sure,
per, right, yeah.
before anything goes out to the businesses, Dave and I were looking at the proof. There's some typos on this, but so we don't want that to go out. There's some typos on the bottom. I don't know if you saw that. Well, I think some of the things are on there purposely so somebody doesn't steal that. Right. Because that's not for free.
And the proof was, it was conceptual.
Right.
So that we had an idea of what they were talking
Okay.
Okay, so we're all clear, they're out until October, end of October, correct?
Right.
And how
Before the
fast would they,
holidays.
would you turn this around? How fast would this come to be?
They're saying as soon as they get the go-ahead, they can do them very quickly. They want them up quick, you know.
Well,
month,
you're
6
asking
weeks.
for a business to have art ready or picture ready. You know,
They have to say, you know, Randy's been in discussions with people. They couldn't pull the trigger.
My understanding that is with the okay, they're looking at a couple week time frame to have everything. So I would think actually by Memorial Day.
Well, that would be cool.
It would look nice. Yeah, I think it would look really nice. Okay, good.
Yeah, most of the businesses have artwork already, their own advertising, so it shouldn't be a big deal to put it together for a banner.
Right. Okay, that's good. We've come a long way. All right. Next on the agenda, manager's report. You
I
good
have
enough?
nothing so pressing that I'm going to bore you with it. We can
Okay.
lay that way.
Good, okay. All right. Council report. Dave, we'll start with you.
There was fair housing meeting last Wednesday, but unfortunately I missed that, so I don't have anything.
Okay, Melissa?
I'll try to be quick, just two things. Most of it was covered, but the flood committee met. We discussed the upcoming FMA grant, which we've discussed in the past. We expect this grant to be announced shortly and just wanted everyone to know the town is in a position to move forward when the grant is announced. As you know, we hired Tetra Tech, which is Paul Miller's company. He's working with the town. He's the grant writer who's been working with us for a while now, and the whole process is going to help the town accumulate our points with the improvement with our CRS rating system. And remember, the study that we're doing with Tetra Tech is 100% reimbursable to the town upon the successful award grant. So that was like a $50-some thousand project, I believe. We also talked about public outreach and education to our residents. There's an additional plan in the works being worked on to disseminate information to residents as it becomes available and to share that information with new residents that move into town that might not know about, you know, what to do in the event of an emergency and flooding and stuff like that. So that's more to come on that. We talked about the governor's meeting. EDC, Economic Development, met. I just wanted to tell you real quick that they've been meeting with different representatives. They met with a rep from the Office for Planning Advocacy from the State Business Action Center.
to discuss strategies to grow our economy and attract a variety of new businesses. Mainly, we were talking about our 2 downtown Main Street shopping districts. One idea that came up, which was interesting out of the conversation, was to nurture the township's ability to attract and grow an arts district. It was something they tossed around a little bit. So we're in contact with somebody from the State Council of the Arts and the Center of Creative Placemaking to explore that option. We've been meeting with, I'll say, suggestions from the group are also to revisit our business plan within our overall master plan to make suggestions. Because if you remember, our master plan, it should be updated like probably every 10 years, but it should be a fluid document. So that's being worked on by the group as well. They're going to look at parts of that master plan, which, by the way, if anybody wants to read it, is online, and make suggestions to that. And then the other item that came up, which Louise mentioned, was we really think, the committee really thinks we need to revisit the LED signs in town. Louise called them digital, but we basically mean the same thing. So there was a suggestion, maybe we can set up a meeting to get a sign company to come in with some samples. We keep saying that pictures are worth 1,000 words. I know.
Do some pictures too.
I know the first year we got on council, there was a sign, example of a LED sign outside, but, we were just, tossing around, there's no, maybe you can get like that colonial sign with the insert, that type of thing. So, just trying to explore the options, because as we move forward, we want to be with the times. We want to make sure we disseminate information. I understand a couple of churches have already put in for some, requests that they want to do. So I just thought maybe we should explore it. Can we do something like that at a future council meeting? Have a
I think so. Yeah, we
have a
can
sign
do
guy
that.
come in. What do you think?
I think it'd be great if this gets driven from the EDC and all that, because it really relates to the businesses and all that. And it'd be nice if they came up with something as opposed to council picking this sign, that sign. We have a mishmash of signs.
But to start that.
I'd be open to it. Also, you talked about a shredded day.
Yes, I think
People-
Dave's working on that. But go
People
ahead.
talk to me, can we combine that with some kind of like, what's that, like TVs and, maybe can we do something like that included in that?
Yeah,
Or
it's
is
not the same company.
Right.
Yeah, we can.
Can the county do
we-
something? Do they know? Can they bring something here?
I'll find out.
All right, because it'd be nice to
Yeah.
combine it with that, I think.
Yeah, and actually, that's something that we, Pequannock Township, needs also.
Oh, really?
Because we have all kinds of stuff sitting upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
When we've looked at that in the past, different vendors charge different amounts, so we'll have to, that's not usually a free service.
I
You
think
have
we
it
might-
done on site.
The county might be able to offer something. I was reading some stuff on one of their recent newsletters. No?
I think they pay for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they pay, when they've done their hazardous waste day in the past, and they have an electronics trailer, they pay like $3-4 per item.
Okay.
So while it's been free to us, there is a cost to it, so if it's something we're arranging, there
I
might
think
be a
the
cost,
residents
but
might like it though. I think they
that's,
really do.
when I talked about the budget, we've got a funding source in terms of recycling tonnage grant to cover that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because I still see people, they put it out to the trash and they shouldn't be doing
Right.
that. And they don't realize they're breaking the law when they do that. They shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, so we will do, Dave, I know you're, I think the discussion now, we were trying to do a shred day in May, but with the timing, I don't think that's going to happen. So we are considering what, July, August, we said.
Well, yeah, I was gonna look for August, and if you want to
Which I know is-
incorporate, if you want to do both together, we'll still look for an August date.
I mean, we realize summer is not ideal because people go away, but maybe if you do it like the first week of August, not around the 4th of July and not right before school starts, but, early August could work. Otherwise, you're into the fall already. So that would be good to coordinate that. And then on that next agenda, I don't know, can we do something with the discussion, at least a discussion on the signs for the next meeting, maybe?
Well, you have to
Bring
see
it.
how organized you can get.
Yeah.
See how organized.
Well,
What's your
if
suggestion?
if you want a presentation, I mean,
I'd rather see a
we had
presentation.
attempted to line up, local sign company in the past to do that, and dates just never worked, so, if that's the starting point, I'll work on that, and sometime over, the next month or so, we'll set that up.
Does anybody object to that? To at least have this?
You gotta be serious about doing this.
I-
Just
But at least
just
yeah.
remind me two months ago. Just remind me 2 months ago, I was doing the gas station.
I'm not
sign.
open-minded.
The way I would be serious about
Doesn't
it,
mean you can't bring them in.
yeah, the way I would be serious about it is if we rewrote the whole sign thing, and you made it so that signs around here, and you had some plan that they flowed, and not just the way it is now.
It's a monumental task.
It is a monumental
If you were to
task.
read the sign ordinance, it is a monumental
It is,
task.
I know. We've tried to go through it before, and you can't fix it piecemeal.
I think,
This
I
is what
think
you
we need
get.
to get some samples so people can conceptually, like visualize.
Mhm.
Like I look at the sign across the street, the church, the very nice colonial looking big sign. I keep saying, well, why can't that be with an insert for LED or?
Flashing, God loves you.
No. No, because a lot of these, anyway, I don't want, I know it's getting late. We'll have to,
We'll talk about it again.
We'll talk
We'll
about
figure
it.
out something. Okay, Rich is tired. Rich, do you have anything?
Just throwing it out
I
there.
have to, let's talk about the parking lot. I happened to look at my calendar, I noticed that we had a, council meeting the day after Labor Day. I think it's the 7th or the 8th of
Are you gonna be
September.
away?
I'm on vacation. I'll be away, so just give everybody a heads up.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, in case we have anything scheduled with voting or anything like that. Okay. Jay?
So we're gonna pass the sign ordinance?
Yes, that's right.
For display cabinet, that's a 10-year award for being Tree City USA. Our 10-year,
That must be the letter I got that I,
Right.
yeah, right. Well, that's beautiful.
Oh,
all-side pressure.
It's not made out of wood. Why did they make it out of wood?
Oh, it's made out of
Also, a
glass.
couple of residents questioned me about Pequannock Ave. I guess now all the houses are gone. Those houses were supplying some light to Pequannock Ave. And I guess too many events, maybe all the street lights are gone.
it's dark.
And it's very dark
Yeah.
at night.
Scary.
There appears to be no street lights left. And now without the houses, there's no light coming from the houses to
Can't hear you back here.
area, so.
They're talking about Pequannock Ave being dark without streetlights now, a lot of the homes.
I know.
Yeah. Mhm.
We've got a map of where the lights to be,
Okay.
so I'll start with that and see if there are ones that need to be
Replace.
replaced.
Or if not, do we just need to patrol it more or something? I don't know. Maybe it's not even an
Well,
issue.
if there are lights that have disappeared over time, which I can understand how that's happened. I'm actually working on one of those on Sherman now. So
We're paying for it,
we
it's
pay
gone.
for these lights.
When they disappear.
They should be there. So let me start there, and
Yep.
if that doesn't resolve it, we'll take the next step in terms of a police, survey for traffic and pedestrians and so forth.
I don't have anything. So next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, to come to the microphone, and provide your name and address for the record.
Good evening, David Dixon, Feeney and Dixon, 512 Northampton Turnpike. I represent 710 Turnpike LLC and 724 Turnpike LLC, which are the property owners of the former Gillies restaurant and the neighboring property. I was under the impression that Mr. Hallberg was going to mention this to you tonight with regard to, it's really the kernel of an idea that we've come up with, which be the private funding or the private underwriting of the further extension of the sewer line up Northampton Turnpike from its current terminus. And we just wanted to raise that with the council to find out if there are any particular problems or questions that they may have with regard to us pursuing that. There are a number of avenues that can be undertaken, both under the statute with regard to bonding and also just private financing and an arrangement that could be reached. But I just wanted the council to be aware of the proposal so that we can then decide whether or not it's worth it for the town or for us to proceed with this project. What would be entailed is approximately 800 to 1,200 feet of additional sewer line, and it's a gravity feed, and it should be easily accomplished, but it's just a matter of coming up with the proper plans to go forward with it.
Okay. Yes, you may.
Yes, thank you. I did very briefly make council aware of that request at a previous meeting. I have received from our engineer a cost estimate for accomplishing that. And the only piece of information that I'm still waiting for before I make a recommendation is with regards to our existing capacity, which is limited at the Two Bridges Sewer Authority.
Yeah.
The sewer master plan was developed identifying areas where we were going to allocate that capacity. And while the business district is, definitively part of that, within the process of the current sewer program, we extended the sewer down Leland to PV School, which had not previously been considered.
That's correct.
So I'm waiting for flow estimates for that extension and to determine the impact on, because we were so close. We were about a 40 household margin between the amount that we had committed through our sewer master plan and what was available. It was close enough that I without actually determining the flow rates for the PV School and 10 houses on Leland, I don't want to make the recommendation to do something that we don't actually have capacity for. So that's the last piece, and I expect to have that within the next business week.
Does Lincoln Park still have any excess capacity?
They have a little bit. We had purchased.
Yeah, I sold it.
Almost, yes.
Now you want to buy it back.
Everything that they were willing to
around,
sell
goes around.
us as of 10 years ago. While there is still some excess capacity in the PRVRSA area, they've been hesitant to sell it as well because they have various members with future plans as well. So council's kind of had that discussion in the past about how do we increase capacity without it costing huge amounts of money. And for I think it's 13 or 15 properties that'll be impacted. It's not huge, but because we only have the 40 property margin
already,
close. So
well, once the engineer
get
comes
back
up with the figures, and we can decide where we're going.
Yeah. I hope to have a recommendation to the governing body by their next meeting to move forward.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you for waiting for all our.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Sharon.
Oh,
Oh.
God.
All right, yeah. You're scaring me, Sharon. I'm never gonna run a marathon.
Sharon, Rocco's not here, but I'll be politically correct. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. Just 4 quick points. First, I just wanted to comment when you were talking about the decorative banners and decorating for the 275th anniversary. Also, can you put in consideration to getting an American flag put in for the flagpole at Pequannock Township Middle School? There's no flag on that flagpole, so it's kind of embarrassing that we're going to have a parade, and it's probably going to be for about 6 months now. You could walk past by it or drive past by it and no American flag there.
I think that's the one that they said needed to be replaced.
It's fine, replace it, but replace it right away. I mean, this is,
I didn't notice.
It's kind of...
I will make a telephone
Thank
call
you.
and inquire about why there's no flag.
Thank you very much. Secondly...
MIA flag too.
Secondly, Greenview Park, the pond, it looks like there was something done with it, so it looks like it's filled with water again, which is good.
Well, we
Did
put
you know?
water in
Or is
it.
that just from the rain?
And we have our fingers crossed.
Okay.
The repairs have not yet been made. but we've been attempting to keep it full, and we're still trying to determine exactly what the issue is, so that we can make the appropriate repairs.
Okay.
For the time being, we're gonna keep it full. Understanding that, now that we've changed our water system and we purchase water from Newark, if we have to put a lot of water in it, it becomes expensive, and at some point, we may make a decision to not keep it full. But for the time being,
Well, either whatever you choose, but it looks better than being empty. But I'm more curious to see how they patch it up. I like watching how things get fixed. I really am. You know, to solve it.
We're gonna buy more of the clay material, and hope that it fixes it. We would really like to know why it happened, so that we can avoid it in the future.
Okay.
I'm sure we're gonna be able to determine that definitively.
Okay. Thirdly, I just wanted to let you know, and I know that I brought this up a few years ago, but we actually have a fox back in the neighborhood around Libby Avenue. And actually tonight before the meeting around 6:30, right out in my backyard, it was there. But I just get nervous because on both sides of my house, I have two new families. One has a 2-year-old, and then the other family has like 2 little boys. I know that we can't control nature to that perspective, but if we can just make people aware to watch out, and I don't think it's going to hurt anybody, and part of nature is let it find its way home. I don't want to see anything killed, but I'm just because I don't, it's a part of nature, but I just get nervous, especially with all the young kids around. What is it? And, you know, it's...
I think, you know, for all the things that we have roaming through our streets here, we've never actually had an incident where a fox caused a problem, and actually there was a fox that lived in the vicinity of Hillview School for many years. That was while my kids were going there. We saw it frequently.
Okay. Was it a red fox?
So but I'm just saying, if you get calls in, I don't know if people have
There's
been
also a
calling, but
bobcat that lives up there.
let nature take its course, you know, but.
And the bears.
The bears are out.
I know, I saw.
Yep.
Oh my. But I just want to let you know in case if people start calling, but I get more nervous, you know, and I don't think it's harm, but it's just weird. Nothing showed up for 2 years, I think it was, and now all of a sudden something's back, so it's just fun. Okay, and then just lastly, if you could do me a favor, this has to do with, well, Sunday, I did my first marathon. It was the Novo Nordisk New Jersey Marathon, 26.2 miles, and it was for 5 hours and 56 minutes it took me to finish. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I got into walking and jogging from 2 people that were important in my life. First, my father, he passed away from cancer about 9 years ago. But secondly, on July 26, 2006, I hit a problem, and I had to call the police station. And Officer Richard Nestinger had came to my house, and he helped me. Helping me get through that problem, he gave me the best advice. He said, walk away. From that moment he said that to me, I started walking 15 minutes a day, a half hour a day, an hour a day, and it started into jogging, and then I completed my first 5K, my first half marathon, and then my first full marathon. So if you can just let Chief Spring know, because I know he's retired, but just let him know I said thank you, because I lost a good 60 pounds over those 9 years. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd be doing a marathon. So tell him I said thank you. Okay. Take care.
Thanks. Take care of yourself.
I'll be jogging again this weekend.
Okay. Anyone else? Frank, are you getting? Oh no. Okay. Okay.
What do you do with the video?
All right, we have closed session
With the
tonight, so
camera.
is there a motion to go into?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
On the website.